second. I hope it put. Okay, yeah, here we go. I think we're live now. Oh yeah. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I got my good friend with me tonight, Matthew Mournian, and this is kind of like, I guess you could say, our holiday show or New Year's show, because we just talked about this. We're gonna do 2026 predictions, which should be fun. We'll get to do readings too and stuff like that. But I mean, you can ask any question you want. And I know Selena already donated and Anchor Haven donated. So thanks, guys. And yeah, I was saying, like, whoever sees this, it's crazy because YouTube's holding my payment because they forgot to send me a pin for my AdSense account. If you guys know about YouTube, you have to have an AdSense account. And then I did everything to verify my AdSense account because I just got remonetized. They forgot to send me the pin, so I guess the pin's coming in the mail. But the crazy part is tomorrow's payday for YouTube. So I'm hoping that the pin comes today or tomorrow or the next day, and then I can put that in and they'll release the payment. So I don't know, because it says on YouTube that I have a payment coming, but then on AdSense it says my payments are on hold. So it's crazy. So if you can donate, it will definitely help. And yeah, and thank you to anybody who did donate. And a little bit more about my guest, Matthew Mournian. He returns tonight for live readings, intuitive insights. He does entity clearing, spirit guide consultations. He knows the body better than anybody I know. He's a healer. He does energy work. He's amazing in every way possible, and he's one of my favorite guests to have, and I consider him like a brother. So, I'm really glad to have Matthew here tonight. And yeah, Matt, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, and greetings, everyone. We have made it almost to the end of 2025, whatever that means, because like we were saying, and we had a meeting talking about this yesterday, they're ultimately just arbitrarily decided upon periods of time that we've chosen to call years and months. So the reality is, I mean, not to make it sound lame, but it's kind of meaningless. But still, based on our human standards, you guys, we came a hell of a long way, right? Before we get started today, I'm not trying to get all like motivational, you know what I mean? But like seriously, think of where you were at the beginning of 2025 for everyone that's watching right now, which is usually like 5 real people and 17 bots. So as the bot learns human consciousness, you're going to be experimenting with this. But think of where you were at the beginning of this year. What was going on in January for you? And then think of where you are now. And what's crazy is for some people, though, this is where it gets awkward, because for some people it's like, oh shit, it's way worse. And then for other people it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Because for some people it's been a beautiful year. It's been a hell of a journey. But
dude, I can tell you where I was in January. In January, that's when they ripped my YouTube channel away from me. And now I already have a new channel and I'm back, playing the YouTube game again, which is crazy. You know what I mean?
Your old one back. I still think you're gonna get the old one back. It'll come at some weird random moment. You'll get this random email and it's like, what? And then your old channel will be back. Because it's like everybody else got theirs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why not you? Is it, not to put too much private info out there, do you think it's because of the handle that you would use? Because I know you saw like an AI kind of write-up about it. I won't go too deeply into that.
I think it has something to do with my affiliates too, because some of my affiliates are dicey. Oh, in terms, they're all legal stuff, like they're nootropics, amanita mushrooms, and kratom. You know what I mean? Which is kind of dicey, but at the same time, they're all still legal. If they weren't legal, I wouldn't be advertising them. But I guess some of them are illegal in some states, and then some of them are weird, and YouTube's probably weird about it. So, I try not to advertise the affiliates much on YouTube. But then I saw the company that I have my kratom with is Happy Hippo, and I saw a bunch of people advertising and talking about it on YouTube. So I said, that must be okay. And then I saw a bunch of people advertising and talking about amanita mushrooms on YouTube. So I'm like, well, that must be okay. So it must be the nootropics. So I've been keeping that off I've been keeping that up, because one time I got into an argument with YouTube about that, about like why they took my channel away. And they seemed like they were coming up with every excuse in the book. And then finally they said that after like 5 or 6 things of arguing with them on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's what you have to do. Like if you
you got to hit them up on Twitter, tag them a bunch of time, and like, publicly shame them in some way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's actually crazy. So, that's the only thing I can think,
That kind of makes sense. It's, it sits in the somewhat, here we go, controversial. There we go. It's in a controversial kind of, placement. I get that. I still think you're gonna get it back. It'll come, or maybe I'm choosing to believe that. I don't know. But I saw, who was it in the chat? Somebody said, I think it was in reply to the question of remember where you were at the beginning of this year. Somebody was like, I was fucked up. Like, no, I mean that, dude, that is totally real. That is totally real. That was June for me. June was just like every bad thing that can happen happened, you know what I mean? But um oh, it was Selena. It was Selena. Okay, that nice. I feel you. I feel you. But so you guys, we have a plan for this evening. I think Rob had kind of mentioned this, but one of the things we were gonna do, or we decided on we were gonna do before the show started, is I want to take 2026 predictions, but I want to hear your 2026 predictions. What do you guys think is going to happen in the coming year? And what we're going to do is we're going to pull some cards on it. We're going to look at what people in the audience have to say, and we're going to do a reading on your guys' predictions. I sort of have maybe one or two of my own. I think Rob might have one. We'll do regular readings as well, but so yeah, think of your predictions for 2026, and also think of any questions that you guys have right now about psychic development or just the further activation of, if you want to call them skills or abilities. No, they're not bought. It's not contingent upon how much you donate. It's a thing that we work on and identify. And so any questions that we have about that, I think I have somewhat of a controversial outlook on that within the community at the moment. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about psychic development. Anyway, I'm already ranting. Go ahead, Rob. You were going to say.
Yeah, I have a prediction already. After I saw the game today, I think my Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not big on sports, but sometimes I'll throw a wager down on sport every once in a while. And I think after seeing the game today, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl because history repeats itself. Well, I noticed that the way they're playing now reminds me of when we won the Super Bowl in 2006 when we had Jerome Bettis. So it's almost like, and we won a really close game. It was really weird. It came down to the last play of the game, and the other team would have scored, but it was like pass interference. It was insane. And I don't know. It's gonna all come down to there's a final. I don't even, I don't even follow it because none of those guys care about me. No, they don't. None of those people even know me or anybody. They don't even know anybody in the city. None of them are even from Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Yeah. So but I guess it's fun to follow sometimes, But
honestly, if I could hold my attention on sports-based things, I would follow it. Like when I was a kid, I was really into baseball, and I played baseball, and that was the only sport that I bonded with. You know what I mean? For some reason, that was the only sport language that I ever learned. So that was the only thing that I followed. But as I hit my 30s, it's just that's that switch turned off, and it never turned back on again. And I'm not anti-sports. I mean, I'm not into the whole bread and circus, haha, you know what I mean? People like what they like. It's just for some reason nowadays I'm like, huh? What?
Yeah.
I'm like that with most everything. You know what I mean? Anything outside of YouTube, if there's a chat, I can stay engaged with it, which is why I hang out on shows like this. You know what I mean? But otherwise, I'll just tune out and drift into some other weird thing. But here's one thing I wanted to share really, really quickly, and then we're gonna pull a card because we're looking at 2026 predictions. So the first one we're gonna look at is, you said, the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
But I just wanted to bring this up because you talked about how there are repeating timelines, and this is such a bizarre thing. Now, it's very, very real, but I had an experience the other day. I'm going to talk about some political stuff for a second, so people are going to cringe, but because everyone knows about Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah.
I was talking in a private session with a client yesterday, and we were theorizing about, what actually happened. And I was sitting there literally saying, you know what? I think that they had a plan to run Charlie Kirk for president in the next 1 or 2 terms. And one of the reasons why he was killed was to set up the future timeline. And it was just me, talking, you know what I mean? And as soon as I left that session, maybe an hour later, I was sitting like on the couch with like Honora, and I opened up my phone, and there was literally videos that had come out that day about how they had announced through some commentator or some, whatever bullshit, that he was actually being considered to run for president in 2028 alongside JD Vance. And what's wild is I think that ties into the repeating timeline of some sort of distorted version of a Kennedy assassination, because we had talked in very limited scope about how Tyler Robinson looks exactly like Lee Harvey Oswald. Everything about the setup of it was, you know what I mean? And anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it too far because there's honestly no point, because it's like all over everything right now. I don't want to like dive into the same
Well,
dirty water.
what's crazy, dude?
Come on.
When you go even deeper, and I don't know how deep you go on this, but like, I don't want to I don't want to come off crazy or anything, but
Be crazy.
There's a lot of people that are showing a lot of crazy evidence that like it could have been a whole like state, and it's not just Carrie Cassidy. It's like people think this was some people actually think that this was a staged thing. Like they showed this guy, his name was Mike something, and he was like a makeup artist, and he had something to do with it. And then they showed that like when Cash Patel said, "I'll see you in Valhalla," like supposedly Valhalla is like this place in Denmark, and they think that's where Charlie Kirk's hiding out. And like they were using Perplexity Pro to like look up all this, and it was like an Instagram video. I was like, holy shit. I was like, and then they were showing like the setup of like where it was, and there was like trap doors it looked like and stuff like that. I was like, what the fuck? This looks crazy. You know what I mean? Like I was like, but hey, I don't know.
I have seen a certain amount of that. And I do sincerely buy into what we would call a multi-state political assassination operation. I'll call it that, which is obvious now for everyone. It's like, duh, okay, but here's what I can say from, I guess, my perspective, which, let's be real, in the scope of the larger world is essentially meaningless to really anyone outside of this community, or maybe the people that I work with. But through the lens through which I work, in feeling the energy of certain things, which, love it or hate it, honestly, that's how I pretty much judge everything in the world at this point. I've used this phrase in the past, so some people have heard it, but I'm being really authentic when I say, if people knew the amount of things I did in this world on pure intuition alone, they would either be really excited or really frightened. You know what I mean? They'd either be like, yes, or like, oh really? I don't know. And so that said, as a person who, like, my entire profession in this world, my livelihood is involved in the reading of energy, one thing I can really say, and I really put my heart and soul into this as being true, is that on the day that occurred, the person or someone within the vicinity of that area was actually killed. Straight up. There was a real living death. Now, here's the thing. I'm trying to be conservative and generous because I know everyone in our community is instantly a expert, you know what I mean? Especially, if you say the right things at the right time, everyone will believe that. So I'm not saying that that's the real truth of it, because that's kind of how we are now. There's so many competing timelines that we're kind of, clashing and coinciding on, that for what's true for me can very well be untrue for another person. There is like these larger truths that exist among us. And honestly, in my opinion, one of the larger truths that we witnessed earlier this year was that let's even say, if it was an actor, like, if you want to pull that line, if it was an actor, they killed him. Whoever it was died then, right there. They did not linger. Their soul did not hang out and dance around. It was like they were gone before they hit the pavement. And I know everyone's like, no, that's actually a hologram. That camera behind them where they took the camera, that's actually the hologram generation camera. and what you saw was a hologram, and there's no way a 30-06 bullet would get there. Well, the 30-06 is literally a red herring, because first off, that wouldn't have been used, period. Like even like the rifle that they're talking about is completely bullshit. Anyone that actually shoots will know that. And I know a lot of people that do shoot have also competing opinions, but when I look at the energy of it, I think it was a military assassin. I think it's absolutely what it was. And whoever they took out that day, whether it was Charlie Kirk or, some CIA actor, he definitely died. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I believe you. But I believe you 100% because you can read energy. Yeah, but like one thing I was going to ask you was, what do you feel? Did you see those videos with the guys doing the hand signs behind them and stuff like that? Do you think that it was like CIA set up in that way, like that it was the CIA? And what's crazy is like I heard Alex Jones put out a video towards Candace Owens because he's like concerned about her because she's going off the deep end on this. She's accusing the military supposedly that it was like saying that they was them that orchestrated this assassination on Charlie Kirk. Supposedly because Indigo Angel sent me that post today, and it was Alex Jones, and I guess he put out a message to Candace Owens, and I guess Candace Owens is going hard on the military or the government, saying that she thinks they took him out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Dude, I think a lot of that is true, but I think from a larger perspective, like it almost doesn't really matter at this point. And I think it's going to be one of those stories that people are going to be talking about, later on down the line, like years later, kind of like the whole, JFK assassination and, like Martin Luther King, you know what I mean? All of the notable political assassinations that just become fodder for stories and folklore and conspiratorial stuff. And I think what we're watching when you see the craziness of like the Alex Jones weigh in and like the Candace Owens, like, like losing her shit over it, is we're watching the stage after a political, operation where they have to flood the zone with misinformation. And so all of these actors come out and flood it with all kinds of weird bullshit stuff. Like, didn't you see the hand signs? Didn't you see the camera behind him? Didn't you see the weird glitch on the camera when his body turned and it kind of glitched like a hologram? You know what I mean? Those are all by design. All of that stuff is by design. And if you go back and look at patterns of other political assassinations, as soon as something like that drops, there's a documentary like within 24 hours, just like with Rob Reiner. It was like, damn, they pumped that documentary out like 18 hours after his death. For those of you guys that haven't noticed, like
that's something we should talk about, because that was a crazy thing. They're saying his son murdered him, and his like, why would the son, what was the son on drugs or something? Or do you think it was like something like it was a Hollywood hit? And maybe they just accused the son as a patsy or something like that, like a Manchurian, or was he a Manchurian candidate where he went nuts and he got activated? Maybe he was MK Ultra.
When I feel his energy, which I actually did spend some time sitting there with Honora, like literally just staring into his eyes, like a lot of people have, because they've been highlighting that he's really open in that sense. It looks like he's a product of like many years of sexual and physical trauma, mind fracturing. He probably has a lot of, MK Ultra, just like all kinds of like some of like the probably, just the most densest layers of Hollywood induced trauma. You can see it as a fracture in him. So whether or not he was, activated to do so, whether or not it was some sort of a reaction, whether or not it was this or that, I'm positive that, I mean, in my opinion, he absolutely did. I think in some of the videos that they show from him in years past and the interviews which that have been getting passed around, it's clear that something was going to happen for this guy at a certain stage. In my opinion, if it wasn't a suicide, which, I guess we're not sorry, YouTube AI, if it wasn't a self-unaliving, it would have been something exactly like this. But
it's crazy. It's crazy. One thing I watched today, dude, was I watched somehow I got pulled into this. It came up in my algorithm. It was a 3-hour interview with that Jesse Michaels dude and then James Fox, the UFO filmmaker. And basically James Fox was trying to make some claim that, that there's definitely crashed UFOs and there's definitely alien bodies, which I think we already knew. but I guess they're trying to get the government to admit to it, which I don't think they're ever going to do, but it still was somewhat interesting, but I don't know. I just kind of, I was like, is this old news? And I was like, cause it's kind of like, we already know that, but it's like,
It
still
feels
interesting.
like everything that it's the mainstream right now with respect to quote unquote traditional ufology is just the continued rehashing with slight embellishments upon everything that we already know to be true, which is why I've taken some shit from people from time to time for being skeptical and cynical about the process of governmental disclosure. It doesn't feel like a thing that we're going to receive in the way that everyone thinks we're going to receive it, because I don't think there's any incentive for the power structure on earth to fully like reveal that. There's just no incentive for the power structure. And if there's one thing we know about the balance of like duality on earth, if there isn't an incentive or some payoff for some type of a controlling body, there's no reason why they're going to give you anything. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There'll be another documentary and another documentary, and then probably in 2026 there'll be a half-assed announcement of something, because it feels like it's being used now as kind of like a new world order, one world government. Like, let's unify behind our understanding that this could be real. You know what I mean? It's like Trump might take us 3 steps closer to what we already know to be there. You know what I mean? But I would say even within that, we're seeing so many layers of deception that I think that's I think that's where I appear cynical to some people. It's like on a lot of levels, I've completely de-invested myself from like, I don't care. Let's see. I don't give a shit. Maybe we'll have a
Yeah.
fake alien invasion. You know what I mean? If there's, I got it. Here, I totally figured it out, you guys, right now. This is exactly what our community needs. Another secret space program documentary. That's it. That's all we need. As if enough of those come out, it's like it's just like a show that we keep watching. I think like it's really about the experiencers in the end, but I'm getting on a higher and higher soapbox as I continue to comment. So
I agree with you 100%.
let me step off.
Like, how many more documentaries are we going to see until something absolutely real comes out? Like, I want to see an alien body, or I want to see a crash. I want to see a crashed UFO or an alien body, or I want to see.
That's why I'm praying for the fake alien invasion.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
see, that's another thing. And don't let me forget, we were going to pull a card on the Steelers, but I'm also questioning for everybody in the chat, how are you feeling now after 3-Eye Atlas did its flyby, its little drive-by thing? Because you know what I mean? That was like, you guys, for real though, and I say this with authenticity, it's been the flavor of the year, right?
It is. It was the biggest topic in our community. 3-Eye Atlas, in our little community, 3-Eye Atlas hit the home run. It couldn't have caused any more. I mean, I had like, maybe I would say probably like how many shows I do. I probably had 17 different people come on and give their analysis of what they thought 3-Eye Atlas was. It's been the absolute talk of the town.
I think it's been a lot of fun, honestly. I pray that we get another thing like that to hyper focus on really soon. And some people be like, "Oh, you're being sarcastic." No, I'm really not. Feel me? It's like, I think it's fun and it's cool, and I also want to admit that it doesn't really lead us anywhere. But that's what I mean. That's just us people. You know what I mean? We need stuff to like everyone. Like, what do you think it is? Well, I think it's this. I think it's that. You know what I mean? It's like. But I will say, though, a part of me wishes that there could be a little bit of greater accountability for people that have these massive worldwide audiences and make these crazy claims, like the 500 million Draco warriors that were supposed to pop out. It's like, how come nobody ever gets to call bullshit on any of that without being told that they're evil? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. It's just, I look at that and I'm like, we're just going to let that one go and we're going to take you seriously next time as well, right? Or are we ever going to look at it and go, how do we build discernment on a greater level?
Yeah. And stop the fear porn too, right? The fear porn's like, because think about what that does to people,
Yeah.
Like it's like next level craziness, It's like, I don't like when people do the fear porn stuff. Like, they say we're having like a pole shift and we got to prepare because the world's ending tomorrow. I'm like, okay, I'll
Well,
believe
there is like
it,
the
you
pole.
know?
There really is a pole shift, though, as far as no, for real. No, right? I mean, maybe not. I'll tell you one thing there isn't, though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say this. I'm just a random person on this YouTube channel, you guys. It doesn't matter who I am. Stop listening to people that tell you about the ice wall. Stop. When that term gets thrown out, when you're watching somebody's show and they start talking about the ice, just let yourself
I'm
like,
guilty of that. See, here's what I think. I'll just tell you what, you're gonna
yeah,
laugh at me, but here's
okay,
what I
it's
think. Like,
okay.
I was thinking that, like, I don't think the Earth's flat. I'm not that, but I was like, well, maybe they're onto something with the ice wall, but maybe it's not an ice wall, but maybe there's a no-fly zone in Antarctica, so maybe there's like more territories that they're not telling us about somewhere there. I don't know. You
I think
know.
there's a series of vast cliffs that surround certain parts of Antarctica that for some people would appear as a wall of ice, but it's no different than coming up on, a cliff here on another continent. You'd be like, that's a massive mountain at the edge of the shore, but for other people in a different era, it was spotted as something very, very different. To me, that feels like one of the most obvious ones where you're like, how do you know you didn't view something else entirely? But I'll say the other one, and I'm sorry, Rob, you're gonna get mad at me. I'm sorry if I offend anyone. Stop worrying about the soul trap, everybody. Not real. There's no soul trap. There's no soul trap. But I will say one thing, and I really do believe this. And there's going to be so many people watching right now, and later in the future that go, he's full of shit. It's not real. Everyone says they don't come back. I'm not coming back. After this, I'm going to 5D. I'm going to 6D. From as far as I can tell, everybody comes back. At some point you will come back to third density Earth,
Oh
whether
God.
it be by choice, whether it be because there's certain things you want to do, whether it be because everyone else is doing it, but mostly it's because that's literally what we do. I mean, everybody talks about a soul trap, but no one talks about samsara. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's literally the same thing. It's like you will always come back. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
wheel of death and life.
Recycling. It's like,
Right.
if you ever noticed that, that's what the Earth does too. Like everything in the Earth dies and then reproduces and it comes back. It's kind of like if you look at it's like the as above so below thing. Like you look at the thing the way the Earth does. Like it happens with animals, it happens with plants, it probably happens with humans too. Did you ever hear these stories of people that say that they had a cat and then they feel like their cat came back in another form, like in another cat, like they got a new cat and they felt like the soul of their old cat was in there? Did you ever hear that? You know what
Oh,
I'm talking about?
that's a literal reality. Animals. Well, here, let me preface this once again because so many people come on these shows and they're like, "Let me tell you how it is. Let me tell you the reality." Like I just did with the soul trap, right? These are perfect exercises for building intuitive discernment, for taking those moments when someone's like, "I'm going to tell you exactly how it is," and you go, "Oh, okay, all right." You know what I mean? So take it with a grain of salt. Your body will show you what's true. And if your body denies what I'm saying, then, allow that to be your truth until you get better info. But based on my experience and what I've viewed in doing this work, the most of the second density animals reincarnate very, very rapidly. They come back very, very quickly. In some cases, as soon as an animal passes, they will immediately be born again in a new form. The life review and the sort of learning and the transition process comes more into play when we hit what people call like third density and we, come into these human forms. Now, from what I've been told, it does occur for some second density animals right as they get to the stage where the soul is going to transition into third density. And so some animal souls will be gone for a longer period of time and they'll exist in what we call the so-called quote unquote astral for a period of time where the soul is made ready. It goes through a process of learning. They make certain decisions and then they choose to incarnate as a human. But by and large, most of our pets will come back to us in some form. They will come back in many different forms. Like cats don't always stay cats. They'll come back as dogs. They'll come back as birds. A lot of multidimensional beings will walk this earth temporarily, and they will take the form of wild animals, which is a thing I don't hear enough people talk about. It's a thing that we learned and really got to view in Florida, where they have a lot of really just so much more like wildlife literally walking down the streets. And when you begin to really look at them and peer into the eyes, this was a thing I was told and I've also viewed, so it comes from more than one source, but there's a lot of higher density beings that will use the bodies of certain animals like primates, certain birds, a host of different forms, as essentially a temporary sort of container. It's one of the ways in which they can avoid the sort of 5D to 4D to 3D step down process, because it becomes very difficult for that higher consciousness to exist in a human form. However, if you can sort of walk into certain animals, and you'll see this, we got to see it really heavily with, for those of you guys that live in Florida, the sandhill cranes. Sandhill cranes were a bird where it's like any of those birds, you can kind of look into their eyes and you can see that there's another consciousness there. And so anyway, I'm going on a rant about all that. But yeah, man, your cats will come back. I have been in out of body experiences in which this is a long, windy story. I'll give you the end of it, but there was a period of time in which, in an out of body astral experience, I had actually had my identity lost. I literally lost my human form. I did not know what I was, who I was, where I was, how to return to the physical body. It was like I had been locked out of my physical body, so to speak, which is a very real thing. And one of the ways in which I was led back was through one of the cats that I had that died, that appeared in that astral form and led me back to my body. Literally. It was like he was still there existing in the astral. So, whether that was an actual spirit of him or something that Matthew's higher self created in order to, create stability in a chaotic out of body experience, it could be either, but it's mind-blowing. I think the law of one references that. For those of you guys that are looking for a slightly different source that references how animal souls tend to, reincarnate rapidly, I'm pretty sure law of one talks at least limited scope.
My ex-girlfriend loved the law. Nikki, my ex-girlfriend from 3 years ago, she loved the law of one. She was so into it. I remember that. I got a question. There's a question here. This is from Christina. She says, do soul clones exist?
I think physical clones as containers exist, but I guess I would say, like, what's a soul clone to you? Because it's like there's so many like terms and sort of labels that get thrown around in these like truthers / disclosure / starseed / whatever new age label you want to add to it, that a soul clone to one person could mean something very different to another person. I am an absolute 100% believer in human cloning technology being on planet Earth probably as far back as like the 1930s. I think it's been something that's been going on for ages. And that's actually one of my predictions, maybe not a 2026 prediction, but sometime in the next 5 years, one of the ways in which cloning is going to be softly introduced to the populace is through the creation of alternative means of generating organs. And we just saw announced yesterday on, I guess, Twitter or X, if you're, young, that they are 3D printing organs.
What? That's insane.
3D printing organs. I think that's another phrase for, we're literally just growing it. We're cloning an organ now, and they're biologically matched to the patient. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's been fully announced. If you guys, for those that don't believe me, you can find it right now. Check it out. So I think that's probably going to show up. I maybe in 2026, but sometime within the next 3 to 5 years, it will be announced. Custom made organs. As will a thing that I've been talking about for a while, which is one of what we would call man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. This is another prediction I have for the next, we'll say 3 to 5 years. We will watch and get to witness in our news cycles for the very first time a male body carrying to term a infant. It's going to be
Holy shit,
truly,
that would be insane.
we will see it. I promise you guys. And I'm not saying it's good. I think it is a true bastardization of, the human body. It was never meant to happen. I know. Sorry for those of you guys out there that are like, yay. I'm sorry. I'm just not on that train, but
Me either.
we will see that. We will see that.
That's freaky, man.
You will
Where
see
would
it.
it come out though?
It's
Where would it come out? Like
it's going to be it's going to be the C-section.
C-section. Oh
Yeah.
God, man. Yeah.
It's going to
That
be
would be
C-section.
when that happens, I'll just give up on the world. I'll be like, you know what? I'm not meant to be here because this place is getting fucking crazy.
Well,
like I mean, I think it's already gotten crazy, but you know what I mean? Like that'll be like the tipping point for me.
From what I can tell, it's not going to go well, and it's already been. There's been several examples of it that haven't really been announced. It's like it's more of an extension of like the reversal technology that we're watching getting like rolled out all over the world since like 2020. It's a crazy thing. I know, right? You're right. You're right.
Men can't handle the period pain simulator.
I am a absolute believer on that. It's somebody said absolute sacrilege. It's twisted. It's the timeline of man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. Later on we'll get to see the sensory simulators, and that's when it gets really weird. But
what's a sensory simulator?
Oh, we're going to be sharing sensory experiences. I mean, maybe our timeline won't get to this point, but it's already been established on a future timeline. As we kind of slide more into the age of the Neuralink implant technology, one of the things that will be unlocked is our ability to sample a sensory experience from one person and have it implanted into another person. It'll be done with food. It'll be done with scent. Eventually it'll be done with sexual experiences and memories, where you'll have the ability to record a memory and transfer it to another person. There'll be this huge market in which people are going to be creating them and generating them. It gets really twisted. People have heard me talk about it on my channel before.
That's insane.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah. I'll stop now. I'll stop it because that's a dark timeline, right? It doesn't sound good. It really doesn't sound good, but that is kind of where the AI timeline is leading us from my point of view right now, you guys. I know everybody wants to think in 5 years it's still going to be helping us edit documents and create silly cat videos, but it's going to get pretty weird. I mean, it's already weird, right?
It's already really bad. Yeah, it is. It is. So what are some of your 2026 predictions, guys? So put them in the chat. I'd love to hear what people think is going to happen, like
totally.
That would be
now that we got really weird and made it all bizarrely twisted. Kelly Dillon says that could be used as punishment for criminals to experience the sensations of their victims. Okay, so check this out. This has been front loaded into. Sorry, I know it's Kelly Dillon, but it says Glenn Kelly. But anyway, that was already front loaded into collective consciousness through the movie A Clockwork Orange, in the scene in which Alex goes through the thing known as the Ludovico treatment. Which
I
is
remember
essentially that. Right. Which is essentially MK Ultra trauma reprogramming. So it's like we got shown fragments. We've been shown fragments of all of these things. I'm not saying it's a good thing, you guys. So don't go around saying like Matthew Mournian says this is going to happen. Get ready. I'm saying that that's a possibility of a timeline that we're heading for, and it's already part of a timeline that's been formed and created. It doesn't mean it has to be our reality. I kind of hope it's not. I'm actually hoping for a timeline shift in which a big EMP hits. Or some people get even more pissed off about that when they'll be like, "What? No!" But honestly, this huge EMP hits, and it's like everybody gets to start all over again.
Well, I had Richard Allen Miller on the show the other day. He seems to think that we're coming to our society's coming to an end. He thinks that
maybe
they're going to set the simulation.
Maybe I guess I'm like revealing so many like cynical things about myself. I actually think it would be wonderful to get to have an end times lifetime experience. Think of how much craziness would happen, you guys. You know what I mean? You got to incarnate at a biblical end times era. You know what I mean? It's like never ending excitement. I don't know, to me, but it's really easy to say that from, a fanciful kind of imaginative perspective. To live through it is another thing. So
This is a prediction. I don't know what this is, but I'll put it up. He says, Ben Charge says, I predict Matthew and Rob will start listening to the They Live Truth channel.
maybe, maybe,
I don't
maybe
know
they
that
will.
channel.
I might check them out. I'm not opposed. You know what I mean? Why not? Why not?
This is so funny from Selena. She says she thinks it'll make us horny and sad.
It will. No, it will. It'll lead to extreme dopamine addiction, and there's going to be atrophy to like areas of the brain stem, and like all kinds of parts of the human body are going to go into like atrophy, and it's going to open up for these other industries of like service care workers who all they do is monitor the people that have chosen to plug themselves into the AI matrix. It'll be an eventual continuation of the you'll own nothing and like it, like timeline where it's like eventually they do plug you into that. It's a very gruesome timeline. I'll stop theorizing
I know
about it
you already
now.
explained this, so I don't want to make this like painstakingly for you or anything, but Ben Charge wants to know, and guys,
Oh, that's okay. That's a good question.
he said, Matthew for real, he says, why are you so sure about or she says, I think Ben Charge is a
That's
woman, I'm
okay.
sorry.
No.
She says, why are you so sure about the Charlie Kirk death? And then,
That
but you did kind of explain this, but for
Well,
people
I can explain a little bit more, and I want to start by saying, like, once again, I'm just like one random professional psychic in a sea of everyone who, took ayahuasca on Friday and by Monday decided, they were going to start a YouTube channel, and now you're a galactic shaman. So, you know what I mean? We're in a moment right now on Earth where there's so many self-styled, experts in everything that it's like take it with a grain of salt. What I can tell you that is, having witnessed the death of physical people in this life, having been alongside and physically present in several death scenarios and witnessing that in other forms, there is a certain release of energy that takes place and what I would call somewhat of a energetic chemical reaction of a certain essence that is released anytime a certain type of event like that takes place. And it's something that is often felt, something that is, it's not a smell, it's not a sight, it's something that the soul acknowledges in its own way. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% accurate in that, because I'll be honest, you know what I mean, I could totally be wrong. That would be a fun timeline shift if he's chilling in the dumbs with JFK Jr. and George Floyd's, hitting on a massive, blunt right now. That would be cool. You know what I mean? I'd be like, hell yeah, but it's like, from what I can tell, in that moment, the soul left prior to his body hitting the floor. So whether that was a CIA actor or maybe it was the hologram, right?
yeah.
But that's why I'm sure, just kind of based on my experience. But I'm not so sure that I'm gonna sit and die on that hill by any means. I mean, because like the reality is, I think we are living in a time in which, with the right technology and the right effort, there's really nothing that can't be faked at this point. I mean,
Yeah, I
certainly
agree.
somewhere, someone with no emotional attachment to certain events like that are going to key into the real truth about it. And it might not be me, it might not be you, it might be some, random other person. But, anyway, so there's a very definitive chemical reaction that occurs. I think other people out there that will have been alongside a person dying will know what I'm talking about. It's like it like hangs in the air, you
That's
know?
why I believe you, because I know you can read energy, and that's what makes me think that you actually were keyed into that, and you can,
I might be wrong though. Like I would honestly, because I loved hearing this story. I loved hearing, what was it, Carrie Cassidy's story about how he's just they just took him away. You know what I mean? Like wasn't she saying that he was just, like taken off stage or something, or was that like somebody else? Like he just got like whisked away. I can't like remember
I
who it
mean,
was. Like he was never even known.
I saw the shooting. I mean, someone sent me a clip of he was talking about something about trans people, and then all of a sudden you just see it's like it was like a fast hit. Like someone just shot a bullet and it went in his neck. And like, see, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because you know guns a lot. Because when the bullet hit it, I'm not trying to be for YouTube purposes. This is for entertainment purposes only, and we're not trying to give advice or anything like that, or whatever. But like what I'm saying is, I know you know guns, so like when that bullet hit his neck, wouldn't that have like exploded his? And I don't mean to get gross, YouTube, but like wouldn't that have like blown out his neck, or would it? Because it kind of just went in his neck, and he went like this, and he just like it like hit.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so not 30-06, which is a big fucking piece of metal, man. That's gonna, it's gonna cause a big explosion. That said, I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? There's so much, like, there's been such a haze of misinformation and so many, like, just ideas that have been cast upon it, that it's like, at this point, I think it's really foolish to like grab onto one thing and say, this is exactly what it is. I feel very confident in going as far as the person that they brought out in front of everyone, that they definitely died, whether it was, some Hollywood actor, or, somebody died there. And I think that's kind of necessary for a lot of the larger machinations of like world groups to create the outcomes that they need. Like, people need to, you know what I mean? Just like in Trump's fake shooting, you know what I mean? One of the ways that they add, credence and add legitimacy to it is there must be a corresponding casualty. So it's like, of course he got shot because a guy opposite behind him also died. Don't you know? Somebody died there. How do you fucking can't question that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the reaction you get, right? What are you talking about? People go into that like cognitive dissonance mode. And, for those of you that are watching, yes, I do believe that Trump's assassination was staged. The energy of it sucks. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Do you remember where we were on the? I know where we were on that day, which is crazy. The reason why I remember is because I was on my way to the Full Disclosure Now conference. You probably were too. I was traveling from Pennsylvania because if I wouldn't have left that day for the Full Disclosure Now conference, I would have been at that, because my friend was going to try to drag me to that, even though I'm not real political. My friend wanted, because it was in Pennsylvania. It was like maybe 30 minutes from my house or something like that, or 50 minutes, something like that, an hour. Like not far where that happened. So. Yeah, it seemed weird, right? It seemed like it definitely did. It was, I agree with you. There was something there. Christina says it felt like a ritual too.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I see Ben Charge shitting their pants in the comments. I don't care what you think. Yes, one person died, another got a hit stage. Like, it's been happening, for fucking decades. You know what I mean? Do your own research. If you don't believe it, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? It's like,
and guys, like everybody, we're just here to have fun, guys. We're not, we don't want to argue with everybody. You know what I mean?
I will definitely argue. For the record.
I know. I mean, I don't want the audience coming at you for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason. What I'm saying is, there's no reason for the audience to get upset. We're just having a, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, it's okay. I'll literally bait people into an argument. So let's go ahead and move on. But yeah. Anyway. Our first reading of the evening was, what was it for? The Steelers taking the Super Bowl?
Well, we don't have to do that, because I don't know.
Honestly, I want to. Just because I don't do sports-based readings. Maybe this will help.
Okay, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Okay, so first off, before we pull a card on this, what makes you think the Steelers are going to take it? What signs do you have?
Because they're peaking at the right time, and it seems like it's a repeat of what was happening in 2006 when they won the Super Bowl. So it's like a repeating timeline type thing. So it does tie into like the esoteric.
Let's see. What do we need to know about the repeating timeline? I think if there's one thing
Jason shared the channel and said, "Come argue with Matthew."
I think if there is one thing we can agree on, we are in a stage right now where there is massive repeating timelines. Everything is repeated. Movies are repeated. You know what I mean? Songs are repeated. like political assassinations are repeated. Like everything that's going on right now has been recycled on some level. There is nothing new going on right now. And I remember years ago when they were talking about, this is how you'll know when the AI is actually taken over. Nothing new will happen anymore. And it'll just be like a repeat of everything. But anyway, going back to the Steelers timeline, we're going to see it live here in the moment. For those of you guys guiding that timeline of the Steelers in the Super Bowl, here it comes. Boom. Oh, it's a Queen of Call. This is such a good non-answer. Like, wow.
What does that mean?
This is a Queen of Cups, and here this is straight out of tarot class for those of us that for those of you guys that are interested in figuring out how does tarot work and how do we understand yes and no's and maybes and how do we gauge the answer of certain things. One of the things that I often work with in our tarot class is a yes or no thing, because I think that's one of the things that helps us figure out the meaning of cards is if we boil it down to like yes or no, stop or go. And so when people like the Queen of Cups comes in, she's horrible for that, because Queen of Cups is one of those people. She's the friend that you have, or maybe she's you know what I mean? And they say like, hey, what do you think's going to happen? What, like, how do you think it's going to go down? And she'll sit there in the back with her little cup, just like in the corner going, just
so kind of like see how it plays out.
She will not tell you. And the thing is, the Queen of Cups, as her nature, knows shit that other people don't. Like, she can see things coming. She's the most grounded of all the characters in the world of Cups. So it's like she's sure of certain things now, but what she doesn't tell you is yes or no. She actually says you need to dig deeper and look at a pattern. You need to look at what has emerged from the cup that you are holding. And so that's where we look at the overall pattern of what we're trying to gauge, yes or no, stop or go. And honestly, in that type of a situation, what would I do is pull another card, because Queen of Pentacles, she is famous for not telling you what's really going on, but she'll break it to you later on when she's had enough of your bullshit. You know what I mean? It's a very particular type of a person. But anyway, so we have a Queen of Cups on the Super Bowl. Let's do one more. It's such an unlikely question for me. Here we go. Why is the Queen of Cups here? I would say for right now, it looks good. You have a Three of Pentacles. I'm going to avoid diving into the theory behind Three of Pentacles. I would say that there is a very distinct chance that that can happen. I think there's still some building and some certain because I don't have like a sports-based lexicon to draw from. There's going to need to be some improvements made for whoever's trying to accomplish something in order to actually get there. To take it from this step to the next step, something still needs to be improved. So I would say that's a possible and likely yes, but I wouldn't count on it unless you're able to notice the patterns of what's been emerging and draw a greater conclusion on your own. So
it's like
I'd say there's a good chance, but you're going to know one way or another. I would say in the near future, you'll see signs. You'll see signs of it. So, but honestly, I would not, this would not be a time in which I would be gauging yes or no over that type of a question, just because the Queen of Cups, her duty is not to divulge in information. Her duty is to observe and look at the storm that's brewing outside of herself from a grounded, position at the same time while gaining knowledge of self, which is a whole other can of worms. But anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's interesting. Yeah.
I'll go way too far into tarot theory, and it'll be awkward when we try to link it to football. Somebody said blunts are dumb. Are they? I hope not.
I was going to smoke a little bit of weed.
I hope they're not dumb. I don't know.
Yeah, I love blunts. I mean, I like the pre-rolled blunts. Like I love those. They taste good. That's why. I don't know.
Wait, are blunts the ones that have tobacco in them?
But no, you can do that. You can empty out a blunt with tobacco and then put weed in it. That's what. Yeah.
The split of like a tobacco. Which one has the tobacco? Somebody out there knows.
A blunt does, because you empty out a blunt, then you put the weed in it. I'm gonna smoke.
Okay, yeah. Technically, then that I do have low tobacco tolerance. I'm one of those people that gets super nauseous from like tobacco. So anyway, let's do some reading.
The other night I smoked weed and then I ended the stream, but I think I'll be all right.
Wait, for which show?
The one that I thought Tommy was going to come to, but I guess he couldn't connect to the
that
internet.
Was actually going really good, by the way. That sucks that you ended it. That was actually a good one. But anyway, sorry. Yeah. We're going to do some readings now, everyone. I've already made enough inflammatory comments.
I love it, man. I love it. It's great stuff.
Sorry, everybody.
Should we start with the people who donated? We had Selena.
Oh, yeah, people donated. Okay.
Yes, Selena. Who else? Selena Anchorhaven, Kat Labine, Aurora Diamondheart, and Colleen Curry. So yeah, I'll do Selena first because she was. Let me see what she wrote on here. She said, she just did a reading from Matthew. She didn't say what.
Yeah, totally.
And thank you to anybody who donated. That was really nice of you.
Thank everybody. You. Totally. For 2026, you guys, I want to create a what's the word? Collective manifestation goal of getting Rob new streaming technology. Seriously, you need to get better streaming technology. We also need to get like a call center, like a switchboard, right?
That would be cool.
And we need to get a producer. We got to get a producer. And
that would be great.
And we need a person to go out and get like deli trays and drinks and stuff and like snacks. So we're gonna need, like one of those people.
That would be cool.
Oh, we're also gonna need a bouncer. We're gonna need a bouncer. So
that would be cool. Yeah, because knowing the people that I deal with, like you saw what happened to me earlier today. I mean, we won't even get into that.
Maybe we should. I don't know.
Well, I mean, all I did was try to wish someone like a happy day or something, and they came back with this person I knew she was like, I'm gonna take you to court. I was like, and then I snapped. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you're not even making any sense. Like, I was like, I wanted to say to that person, are you on this planet right now? Because it seems like you're absolutely not, I don't know.
I know, man. I feel you. This is the season where everyone's going to lose their shit about something inevitably on some level. Some of us are going to take it way harder. But then, let's just be real. Borderline personality disorder is one hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like Selena's in the background going, what the hell? I thought they were going to finally do reading. Here we go. We're officially shifting gears. So we're going to put the cynical, irreverent sarcasm aside, right? We're going to compartmentalize that and take a slow breath in and just release it. Those of you in the chat, you'll hear me 10 seconds probably after I do that. So when I say it, just take a deep, slow breath in. And this is for Selena. What needs to be known? At the close of 2025, here comes live in the moment. Whoa, congratulations. You got a very lucrative card, Selena. You got, don't trigger him. I don't know. I'm not that easily triggered unless maybe
what? I got to say this real quick, Matt. They get people. Sometimes people in the chat get upset because I pull up the most random comment from anybody when it's time for their reading because I don't know what to pull up. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to pull up their names
out of context, like a whole other conversation. You're like, what? I also do the same thing. But anyway, okay, we're gonna go back to this. Selena, congratulations. Without diving into dense tarot theory, I'll give you the message rather than the definition. The season ahead of you is perfect for investment of energy, investment of time, investment of money, and the rightful exchange of value. And I mean that. I'm stressing the words rightful exchange of value, because when a Six of Pentacles enters your life, Spirit's trying to show you symbolically that you have a value right now that A, in some cases is not being used, B, in some cases might be squandered, or 3, you've been waiting around to jump or take a leap of faith in something. Maybe you've been asking yourself, am I even worth it? Would people actually pay me to do this or that? And it could be that. It could also just be straight up, like, from its most basic perspective, you entering a stage of your life where you're like, whoa, I have way more money. Because from its most symbolic perspective, the Six of Pentacles is about exchange and value and investment. And honestly, at a certain stage with the Six of Pentacles, you get what's been coming to you. And I don't mean that in a karmic way, like you get paid back, but you kind of do get paid back, but it's usually in the form of your investments. It's not like, oh, you did something wrong, you're going to get paid back negatively. It's like, no, actually, you put time and energy into certain paths, and now all these hands are going to come out, and a lot of people might want something. You know what I mean? You really do have to be mindful. I would say be mindful of spending from a base third density perspective, because Six of Pentacles could have problems with that. You know what I mean? I mean, which honestly makes sense because we're in, holiday season, and I know you have kids and it's like everybody's buying a lot of stuff. Six of Pentacles can be moments where it's like you get a bunch of money, then you spend it all, then you get it all again, then you spend it all. You know what I mean? Like back and forth. And so, but it's a very useful card for gauging whether or not you have a value and if that value is ready to be exchanged with the world. So anyway, I feel like I'm ranting at you, but this is a good card to get, you guys. All of the sixes for everyone out there who pulls cards, if you're just doing it on your own, all of the sixes are very benevolent. They're benevolent in different ways, but they're generally good moments. I wouldn't say explosively good, but anyway.
That was a great reading. I hope that resonates with you, Selena. That was great, that man. That was oh wait, here. Okay, so the next person is Julia Anchorhaven, and Julia just had a lot of fun at the Basis conference. I was able to get some interviews from the Basis conference too. That one with Brad Olson was great. He's amazing. He's next level. I mean, like, I don't know.
Honestly, I do like Brad Olson. I don't think I'm cool enough for him to talk to me, but like I've genuinely enjoyed. I'm like, you know what I mean? He's been able to tie together and like gather together a lot of really cool stuff, and I've always enjoyed his storytelling. Before we go to Julia's reading, somebody had a question. I'm trying to find it now about Philip K. Dick. I keep skipping over it. That's interesting. Whoever that was, the Philip K. Dick question. Yes. And we are witnessing right now one of the events, well, a lot of events that were forecasted by Philip K. Dick, but I'm going to go to one of the more obscure ones from Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, which for those of you guys that know was eventually adapted to the movie Blade Runner. And honestly, it was one of his, I wouldn't even say it's that good of a book, to be really honest with you. I think its value comes from it being made into a movie. But one of the things they talk about in Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep was that one of the first things that happened before the earth became uninhabitable and the official breakaway civilizations began to become things that you could buy and purchase and become a part of. One of the first things that we would see happen was insects going extinct. And you guys remember years ago how the bees were starting to go away? Like, remember all that stuff? Those were directly forecasted by Philip K. Dick and a lot of other people, which I know some people are very aware of that already. They're like,
what did he predict after that, though, Matt? Like, what did he say was going to happen?
Well, that was the first wave of extinctions, and then after that, I think it was like farm animals started to go down, and then like people started to they created a industry of essentially the replicants, but they started with animals. Like animals, it was like a really fashionable thing in the book to own a fake animal, and it was wild because they could keep them on in weird places, like on the roof of an apartment building. You know what I mean? But it was just an android, which is like the electric sheep, quote unquote. Anyway, go ahead. You were gonna say?
Did you see those? I think they were on Instagram, but they would show these images of like a whole field of like birds that just died. Like it would be like a group of birds died. Like I saw that multiple times places. I think I did, or is that a Mandela effect? But like I swear I saw that.
Yeah. I've often wondered what caused that, because that's been a thing that's happened a lot of times, where this huge group of starlings or some massive flock of something suddenly drops dead out of the sky. And it's like, is that a testing of some kind of direct energy weapon? Is that some other like psychotronic, force? Is it HARP? Is it, I don't want to use too many keywords in a row. So,
So
you
okay,
know
so
what I
that
mean?
that that wouldn't have anything to do with the extinction. You think that's been happening for a long time? That's they're kind of
I think I'm more referring to like the gradual extinction of certain forms, and that was really just me commenting on the Philip K. Dick thing. But I
yeah.
just I just noticed on Twitter they were talking about maybe a couple days ago how certain types of insects are becoming incredibly rare. I don't remember what it was, so I'm speaking like way generalistically. And they were watching other forms of insects kind of show up on a greater level, like how they had theorized that there's like something like 55% more roaches now on Earth than there were like 20 years ago or something like that. People can
Wow.
probably find that one on X. If you do a good search, you'll find it. There was some post how there was like, I think it was 55% theorized that they had increased their population by such and such amount because some of the predator, other insects and animals that would kill them are sort of like disappearing in a weird way. But anyway,
Wow.
we were gonna do a reading for Julia. Sorry, Julia. Sorry.
And, I don't have a bad comment from Julia
It's
today.
okay.
Or
It's okay.
I just have
It's like,
hard
oh my,
for this one.
it's like 5 in the morning there, probably. I'm sorry. Here
Yeah.
we go.
It's wait. See, they're 5 hours ahead, so it's 11, 12, 1, 2. It's 3 in the morning there.
Oh shit. Okay, I'm sorry. It's in the middle of the night. Thanks for hanging out. I hope the conference went well. We do have and because I know you were talking about Julia. For those of you guys that are watching, I have a video on her channel where she says I was what was it? I was very stern and intense, and I'm like, what? Really? I'm like the most unserious. I'm like the least serious person. That's why I'm like, what? I was, but anyway, here we go. This card is for you. What does she need to look at for 2026 at the close of the year? Here we go. We'll see it together. 3, 2, 1. Oh, hello. You have a generally good sign today. You've received the 3 of Cups. I say this phrase a lot, but I really mean it. Cards show up in cycles, and there's symbols that come around a lot, and then there's cards that breeze through a bunch of times during the year, and then there's certain cards that go away for a while, like people or seasons. And Julia, I honestly cannot remember the last time I pulled the 3 of Cups for somebody. I'm trying to think of it. Not that I would even be able to like remember, because I tend to blank out in a lot of readings, but I think you'll already have your own relationship with the 3 of Cups, but I'll give you the multi-dimensional version. And this is for anyone else that's pulling cards for themselves. When the 3 of Cups enters your world and you're asking, what's coming up ahead? What should I be doing? Is there a thing that you guys want me to be focusing on or taking part in? It's very simple. It's like, this is your time to hang out. This is your time to have fun. This is your time to have a drink, to, as they say, make merry, so to speak, to which you're probably doing at the conference recently, I would imagine, because like we all know how that goes. You really just hang out. At least that's how it is here in the US. We just hang out literally for like 3 days. But that's what you do at a 3 of Cups. Everyone just hangs out, and part of the time you might be laughing, and yes, part of the time you might be crying. But the 3 of Cups is about social engagement. It's about hanging out. It's about being physically present with other people and having fun. And it doesn't have to be physically present, because not all of us are able to do that. But we could even say, from a limited perspective, the social experience that people get from your show, Rob, of us just hanging out in the chat, and how some of us are like, arguing with each other, and some of us are just making fun of stuff, and others are just commenting on that could actually be an example of a 3 of Cups moment. Why? Because everyone's just hanging out. Everyone's just like, like they could be shouting, they could be laughing, but it's just, hanging out ultimately. To me, that's a good sign. It doesn't go very deep. It's not meant to give you like a boatload of information. It says your duty right now is to enjoy yourself and be sure to do it alongside other people. So,
Dude, I was thinking about the you made me think about the Full Disclosure Now conference this summer. We got to meet some of the people that just came to my mind. We got to meet Nathan Sizek, who we've communicated with for so
Nathan
long.
was great.
But then we got to meet James Bartley. We got to meet Randy Kramer, and Randy Kramer was wild as hell, man, in a good way. Like he was interesting.
Honestly, Randy is great. I genuinely enjoyed hanging out with Randy. I think he, out of all of the sort of old guard secret space program people, from 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, having met him a few times now, I can honestly say Randy Kramer is the most approachable and the most down to earth, and probably the most wild and kind of crazy and potentially arrogant at the same time, but he's real. And it's like the thing that I loved about him is he'll just hang out with you, and it's like he's not like, oh, I'm too cool for you. It's like he'll just chill. And I'm like, dude, to me, I'm like, you know what, that's a sign of authenticity. You know what I mean? At least as a person, you know what I mean? I'm not saying everything about you is authentic, but as an authentic person, he was very cool to hang out with.
And I'll just say before we move to the next person, I thought James Bartley was really cool because I'm a big fan of his, because like he blends, like there's a couple people in the community that do this, but another person who does it well is the girl from Andrea Martin from Growing Up Alien. What they do is they know about old like ufology, they know about like contact cases, all that my old school
Totally. I've watched a lot of his shows over the years. Yeah.
They also know about new stuff too. They can blend, like they're current with the times, but like they know the old stuff and the new. And I feel like when they know that, you can like master that field, because you
honestly, I think he's sort of a legend in that realm. You know what I mean? I've genuinely enjoyed his work. Unfortunately, for those out there that don't know, I wasn't SSP enough for his show, but that's okay, because in a few years, none of that will matter anymore. So, who's next? Who's next for the reading?
Wait, I'm sorry. So the next person is Kat. And I love Kat's picture.
Yeah, totally. Oh, cool. Okay, Kat L. What's going on? Let's pull a card for you. Which is odd, because I think me and Honora did like 32 readings yesterday in our Patreon.
Holy shit, man.
It is the season. But I have to be honest, and I don't know, some people will be like, oh, that's so lame. I'm going to be totally real. There's a point that comes in doing this. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but I will, because I know there's other people out there, and part of my duty is to help other people that are learning to do this work. You will eventually dissociate from most of your readings. I'm just being honest. Like, people that really, really sink in and lock in and do this work, you're not going to be looking at 3 years later, that random person that you saw on Tuesday morning and remembering what you said to them. You won't. It's impossible. And there's this thing when spirit really kind of comes in and the flow begins, where it's like this version of you sort of leaves anyway, which was honestly, I think, really the thing that allowed me to begin doing readings in the first place. Because like a lot of people have heard me say, no one really taught me how. I didn't know how to do tarot. We've been doing a live read through on my channel of my book, which came out last year, and we're sort of approaching the part in the book where I get more into detail about how, like, the first reading, the first official tarot reading I ever did was just literally in a job interview to work at a store. I had never even read cards. I just was like, boom, and I would just like see an image and I would just start talking, and it's crazy. We're entering a stage in 2026. I mean, we've been there for years, you guys, but for those of you guys that don't know, every single one of you has something within you like that, that's ready to be unlocked, that's ready to be used. They will often need to be honed and improved and grown upon and practiced. But I believe that we're living in a time on earth where everyone can do something like that. And so, anyway, before I rant on, we'll do this reading for Kat L. Here we go. What is 2026? The beginning of 2026 hold for Kat L. What is she? I'm assuming you're a she. Maybe she's not. Maybe it's a he. He's like, oh my God, did you just assume my gender? Cancel this, man. Here we go. Kat L. 3, 2, 1. Hello. It's a hermit. Huh. Interesting. This is, oh Lord. I mean, in some ways, it's like ripping a band-aid off when a hermit comes in the room, but it really depends upon like what your current status is. The hermit is for most of us a solo stage, a solo part of the journey. For some people, he could be kind of a dark night of the soul. For other people, he could be a stage of heavy introspection and self-examination, and a period of time where you really go within for self-care and just examining, like, who am I, how did I get here, what's going on in my life, what do I really want. It's a good time for shadow work when you see a hermit, although I wouldn't say a hermit's really necessarily a dedicated shadow work symbol, but those are a lot of the things that a hermit will do in isolation. And so we could say from like a day-to-day perspective, just like stuff that you'll be doing, hermit tends to be by themselves most of the time, not forever, but in a stage of a hermit, you'll probably be like, huh, I am a little bit isolated in some way. Sometimes you'll be coming out of a hermit phase and spirit will be prompting you to kind of reintegrate with society. But I think usually when it comes forward, you're being given an opportunity. And I choose to call it an opportunity with the hermit, because by really diving into this energy, you can unlock a lot of really amazing things in your life. But I guess like the kicker behind the hermit is it's sort of that saying. A lot of you guys have heard me say it in the past, but the hermit is that old saying, the treasure you seek is in the cave you fear the most. You know what I mean? The thing you want is in the place you least want to look. Which is a powerful thing, because if people can face themselves, let's just say as a chapter of self-improvement, the hermit tells you that if you can face yourself and come out, victorious on the other side, you will go to a new stage, which is why he's also the number 9 for those of you that can't see that. I don't often get numerological, but he's also the number 9. Then I would say lastly, if you're looking for a character or a moment to tie, let's say for those of you guys that are learning tarot and you're like, what would be an image that I could build upon from the hermit that I could use in my daily life? For you guys that remember the first Star Wars movie, remember where Luke goes to the Dagobah system and he meets Yoda, and there's that scene where he's training with Yoda and he goes into that cave, and in the cave he has to fight Darth Vader. And then he kills Darth Vader in the cave and he's like, oh my God, it's me, and he has that moment where the mask breaks off and he's like, and he has that moment. Boom, right here. That's the hermit. That's the kind of things you engage in a hermit stage. Some real smart tarot people would say, well, Matthew, wouldn't that also be kind of a judgment? Well, yeah, kind of. But it's also hermit. I would say it's much more hermit. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Yeah, that is so interesting. That is so, man, that's amazing. I love how you break down tarot, man. It's dude, it's next level, man. It is like I think people love your readings. They're definitely next level. Like,
thank you. I hope it helps. It's the only thing I know how to do now. It's either that or hanging out in the chat, making weird comments and like, doing the thing where you're like, wait, is he serious or is he joking? Just so you know, I'm like neither serious or joking, but a secret third thing that you'll discover later on. Anyway, who's next? Who do we have?
Okay, this is Aurora Diamond Heart next. Thank you for donating, Aurora, and it's good to see you, Aurora.
Yeah. What's up? How's it going?
She's always cool to hang out with at the conferences. We got to hang out with her 2 years in a row.
Totally. Honestly, I don't even think I would go to a conference like if she wasn't there and like you weren't there at this point, because it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I think Aurora Diamond Heart's been at nearly most of every conference that we've been to for the past 3-4 years now, maybe longer.
Well, that's cool.
I think it's been about 3 years, probably since 2021. I'd say.
Is you went to Journey to Truth too, right?
Yeah, since what was it? The Starseed Adventures, was that what it was called? What was that one that we did? Anyway, she knows what it's
How
called.
many conferences do you think you've done?
That's a good question. Not that many, honestly. Not that many. That said, I don't know when I'm going to do any more. For those of you guys that don't know, it's well known. But for those of you guys that don't, I'm definitely not on the cool conference list. So it's like the only way I ever do one is if I happen to be friends with one of the people, or if somebody else cancels, you know what I mean? Or if they ask literally everyone else, you know what I mean? They'll be like, well, who have we not? Oh, well, all
Dude,
right.
that's messed up because like you should be like I was there when you like like I was there when you did your speech at Full Disclosure Now. Both years I listened to your
Yeah.
speech and like both times, guys, and this is right hand up to God, he got a standing ovation. Both times, standing ovation. Like not many people there got a standing ovation. Matthew got a standing ovation. Like even Lauren Pritchard gave you a standing. She had a, you know what I mean? And she can be a critic. I love Lauren Pritchard.
I do
She can be.
too. Lauren is great. Lauren is
Yeah,
great. But yeah, so who knows? I'm praying we will do more in the future, but honestly, I think 2026, at least for me, in large part has to do with writing the tarot book, which is book number 2, and just kind of building upon a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, more so within our own kind of channel, rather than trying to branch out and sort of diversify. It's like I'm trying to like bring the energy back in. I also really want to incorporate the secret second channel that I had, which I still have, which is there's a whole other can of worms tied to that. But I have this whole other channel with like 1,200 subscribers that I never use, and I think I should because it feels dead. So,
yeah, you should. That'd be cool. Like,
but
what would
here's
you
the
do on
thing, I, I want to do really dumb stuff like reviews and like weird like lifestyle shit from like a absurdist humorous like point of view, like make it like this weird sarcastic joke where everyone's like, is he serious or is he joking? I don't know. It's like I'm gonna really cultivate that further in 2026. So if there's one thing we know, we're just gonna get more and more insane as time
Yeah,
goes
I agree.
on. Anyway, let's pull a card for Aurora Diamond Heart. Shifting gears into total reverence. Ready? Here we go. Let the healing begin. We'll see it together. 3, 2, 1. For Aurora Diamond Heart. Whoa, another rarely seen character lately. There's been a few kind of, hidden characters popping out lately. Aurora Diamond Heart, you have received the Fool, which I would say in the now moment, whether you want to make it about right now or you want to make it about 2026, or maybe even we could say just this holiday week that we're in where, everyone has a weird obligation to perform in some way. When we have moments like that in our life, the Fool reminds us that we are meant to wander. We are meant to just, walk back and forth and, be aimless and maybe play some games and sing a song. And you know what I mean? As long as you're careful to listen to warning and you don't step off any cliffs, the Fool's a good time for most people. You can have really anything you want right now. So I would say use this for maybe the last couple of weeks as we kind of roll out of 2025 into 2026. But the Fool really, at a certain stage, needs to choose a destination. And so maybe in the meantime, before that destination comes into greater view for you, you can spend the next week or two or so just literally hanging out and, not worrying about anything, wandering around. You might be barking at a few people and getting a little bit weird, but the Fool's usually a good time for most people. I mean, later on, it does need to get serious. And that's why I think, you're going to choose a destination for yourself. If you want to use it as like a character building destination in 2026, it really is time to choose. I would say that's kind of one of the necessities that the Fool brings into your life. If you're wondering like, well, eventually, what am I going to be doing after this period of just wandering around? Well, that's where you have to choose and you have to say, I'm going here or I'm going there. Kind of necessary for the Fool. But I would say in general, never get bummed. For those of you guys that don't know tarot, when you see the Fool, don't ever be like, oh no, the Fool, because he has problems. I mean, like if you want me to give you the problems of the Fool, the Fool will classically be unaware of certain things. So we're not going to define you as such, but we're going to say that's a thing that you'll look into when you have the Fool card and you're pulling cards for yourself. You'd be like, well, wait, what am I not aware of? Am I not aware of something right now? Am I about to step off a cliff? Have people been warning me about something? Have I been minding, the direction that I'm going? If you want to be really specific, you could ask those questions about yourself. But really, it's a time of wandering. So allow it. And anyway, I will stop there. I hope it helps.
That was amazing. The next person, I can't find her avatar. I'll just tell you who it is. It's
Okay.
Colleen Curry, and she goes by
Cool.
Curious Call 81. She's not in the chat. I even sent her a message because
That's okay.
I texted her,
It's all right.
told her that, yeah, but like
We will pull a card for her. Did she have any sort of question, or are we just going to see what shows up? Not that a question is needed, but
Colleen, do you have a question if you're watching?
as we're waiting for her, I'll tell you guys something. Maybe I said this on a live stream or on Patreon. I get them mixed up, to be honest with you, from time to time. But for those of you guys that don't know this, when I first started doing readings for people, I would not do a reading for someone unless they had a question. If people came to me and I'd be like, okay, sure, I'll do a reading. What's your question? They're like, oh, can you just give me a general? And I'm like, nope, absolutely not. I was very dogmatic about that in the beginning. There's a number of reasons for that, but I will say as you grow and sort of progress later on, it did become a lot more acceptable for me to do so. But I think that came after observing other people ultimately doing the same thing. I think that I suffered at the start of doing this work from a little bit of taking myself too seriously. And in many cases, I needed to be given, some sort of a direction in which to run so that I could grab onto something. But later on, I don't really do that so much anymore. I would say one of the people that kind of helped me develop into greater being more willing to do general readings was actually Ivan Teller.
I love Ivan Teller.
When I first met Ivan, it was like I think it was 2021, and we had talked a lot for a while. And I remember literally saying to Ivan, I was like, dude, I don't know how you just do general readings. You just it's like you just open up the door and like literally observe something about people. And he was like, yeah. I'm like, huh. I guess it's okay to do that because, like for me, I think I was and I mean, like I am still. I mean, look at the name of my website. Literally, I'm so mission oriented in everything. It needed to be given a direction where they're like, well, where are we going? I even have had people book with me years ago. And they come into this, Zoom meeting, and I'm like, okay, what do you want to talk about? Where do you want to go? And they're like, well, actually, I was wondering if you could just direct me. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Nope. And I would be like, nope, we're
Only
done.
they know what they want, right? They know the
Yeah.
direction of their life, right? So it's like,
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not gonna unpack it for you. I'm not gonna do a psychic quiz game and like, well, it seems like you might be, but I have to admit, like later on, I became very acceptant of doing so. And I guess one of the reasons why I'm talking about that here this evening is because, like I said, I think one of my mission parameters is helping other people navigate and understand really more of the ins and outs of what it's like to live the lifestyle of doing this work and the sort of things that other people don't talk about. There's very few people that talk about what do you do when a really abhorrent, disgusting person that you can't stand books a session with you? What do you do? What if they come to you with horrible questions? What would you do if a convicted pedophile that had been to prison booked a session with you and wanted to ask you questions about all these sensitive things? Some people have standards and they have these ideas and they have like, well, I would or I wouldn't or I would behave in such a way. And I think one of the places where I come in is that I've had all of those experiences and had to deal with so many different types of people along the way that like part of my journey, I think at this stage when I go into 2026, it's about talking about like what is it really like to live the lifestyle of doing this work? How does it change you? What do you notice? What do you leave behind? Where do you grow? Where do you get stuck? Where do we get sick? Because the reality is a lot of people that do the work that I do also get sick. They have problems. It does not come without its hazards. You know what I mean? And so
like Indigo Angel with her gallbladder, right? Like she's public about it, like, and she
totally
does this kind of work too. She does like
a lot of people. I've known so many people. Her, I know we can say this one publicly because she talked about Barbara as well. Barbara Buck had a very public, experience with some illnesses. I'll be telling the story in the next few months when the authorization is given. But I literally had a near-death experience this year that hardly anyone knows about. You know what I mean? That I was like, don't talk about that one. You know what I mean? Smart people will know. Real intuitive would be like, well, it's written all over his face. It is actually. That's a cue for medical psychics out there. You'll also hear it in the voice. You can hear organs in your voice, but that's another can of worms. Let's
Whoa,
do.
that's crazy. You can hear
Oh
organs
yeah.
in people's voices.
Well, that's honestly, to be totally honest with you, that's one of the reasons why I'm having a hard time completing the Meridian course that I'm doing, is because it's like so much of what I do comes from hearing a person's voice. That's why I always say when I do private sessions with people, as long as we have audio connection, that's all we need. As long as I can hear your voice, it's like we are good to go. As long as we have that, because what you'll find is that what I've noticed is that there's this layer that sits underneath the vocal range of people's voice, the sound that comes out of the body, kind of like the sediment that lays at the bottom of a jar of something. Over time, it gathers in certain areas. And what I've noticed is if you listen carefully to a person's voice within a mere maybe, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds, sometimes less, you can hear organs, you can hear chakras. I mean, it's also in the face. Also, that's another big one for me. Although I don't really need it as much. It's like there's so much data that comes through right here for everyone. It's like literally right here. It's crazy, man. That's why,
dude,
like,
that's so interesting. That's so interesting. That's like, that blew my mind.
It is a trip. That I guess, like, the kicker is, how do you translate that into something that people can use from a mass perspective? Because one of the things I've noticed is that everyone has some form of an ability like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not every single living person, but the majority of us really do have a hidden secret ability that, if we're devoted to unlocking it and discovering it and really working on it, there's really nothing. And I know some people cringe when I say this, there's really nothing that could stop you from doing almost identical work as I'm doing here, and many of the people that you see on this show. And granted, some people are pure performers, but you're going to watch other people that do this, and you're going to notice that there's a layer of knowledge and awareness that they have. And I think that's something that anybody can gain. If you're wondering, how do I start? Where do I begin? It's just on the other side of all of your deepest emotional wounds.
Wow.
Sorry. Sorry. Literally true. It's like, the more we heal the emotional body, the more we are able to gain the ability to sense the emotions of another person. If your auric field is firmly packed with emotions that you've never processed, you're not going to be able to tell or read another person. And some people say, yes, you can. And I'm like, I don't know. If you don't know where I end and you began, it's like, how could you possibly do such a thing? But
yeah.
Anyway, we were gonna pull a card for
Colleen. Yeah, I found her in the chat.
Sorry, here we go.
No, that dude, you don't have to be sorry. That was fascinating. I love that stuff, man. Like, I love like psychic phenomena and stuff that can be proven like that, and like results, and like, you know what I mean, like real life work that like you're doing, that like you're noticing,
good for.
You're picking up, and you know what I mean, dude. It's like no, you don't understand. That's absolutely fascinating. That's amazing. It's like that's really interesting. Like how you can read the face, like the eyes. That's
well, here, I mean, I will literally tell you guys right now, where are some organs that you can see on people's face right now? I'm a really good example of liver energy, because one of the places where the liver shows, and Rob, you have a little bit of this as well, because both you and I have talked publicly about having stagnated livers. Right here. Boom. Right here. But for those that know, it's more than that, because there's also kidneys right here. Now, I have a little bit of an anomaly because I have a thing called, I can never say the word, vitiligo, where I get these white spots. A lot of you guys have seen images of that. As I get older, it'll become really obvious. They'll be like, what? But yeah, so I have like this big white spot forming on my skin, but you'll see it, like kidneys will come down here. Liver will be right here. You can see gallstones and liver stones up in the eyebrow, or up in the forehead. Bladder signs can be right here. I think right here for some people, which I don't really read the lips as much, but a lot of intestinal energy comes through, as does right here. A good indication of parasitic overgrowth is the splotchy redness that you'll see people get.
Well,
Oddly enough, a lot of politicians seem to have that. I've noticed that in certain like elitist politicians, you can literally see the parasitic overgrowth in their body. That'll show up on the cheeks at time. It's a crazy thing. You can see the amount of blood sugar in a person's body by looking at the base of their neck. It's a trip,
wow.
man. All of the signs, they're like all there. It's such a crazy thing. You can tell if a person's spleen is overloaded or getting inflamed by looking at a line on the left side. And then liver and gallbladder have a little horizontal line that form as well that'll tell you when they're like packed up with energy. It's a crazy thing. Anyway,
Dude, that blew me away. That's like
crazy
insane.
thing. Colleen's like, what the hell? Here we go, Colleen. Sorry. Finally, it's happening. 3, 2, 1 for Colleen going into 2026. Here it comes. Whoa, hello. We asked for good news, and a lot of people got good cards tonight. And I want to acknowledge that, Colleen. You have a very good card. You have the sun. On one hand, it's beautiful because it tells you that if there's something you can look forward to right now in your life, it's definitely an era of massive growth potential. And I notice I stress that word potential because the sun, it's about growth, it's about a positive era, it's about new things happening. But I would say on a larger perspective, it's about potentials. And one of the ways you can imagine it is like seeds that you planted years ago. You know what I mean? What were those seeds? There were things that you wanted to experience, relationships, various things in your life, stuff that you wanted to have happen, whatever it could be. And you planted those seeds by sending that intention out to the world, sometimes months ago, sometimes years. And guess what happened? Nothing. You were like, well, I guess that wasn't going to go down. I suppose that wasn't slated to take place in my life. And then the sun comes rolling in and they're like, hey, Colleen, remember those seeds you planted, those stuff that you were hoping would take form, that you were trying to manifest or create in your life? I don't know, maybe going all the way back to 2019 if you want to get numerological here, which we could do that. It doesn't have to be that far back, but it could be yesterday. Things that you've been waiting to manifest in your world and you've been wondering, when is it coming? The sun will signal the arrival of those things, but it's very specific. It doesn't show up in its fully formed, form, I guess, not to be redundant, but you know what I mean? It doesn't show up fully grown. The sun takes the form of a sprout, something small, an early form of life that must be cultivated and it must be nurtured. And so when you really look into this for the days and weeks ahead, you have been granted a very benevolent era of positive growth potential. It's going to be based upon how nurturing you're going to be of yourself, of your desires, of your wishes, of the things that you're trying to be built, or the things that you're trying to build. You have to be very careful and very kind, because the problem with the sun that comes with it is, as I start drooling on myself here, is that you can overdo things. That's the downside. Be very mindful not to overdo anything. Be very careful not to push too hard on any one person, or especially yourself. Don't leave anything out. Don't leave anything undone. What happens when you leave something delicate or plastic in your car that, in the middle of summer, you know what I mean? And the sun blares in through the window and you come out later on and you're like, what? It melted. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Or you get in your car and you put your seatbelt on and that metal part of your seatbelt burns you, as you plug it in, you're like, oh shit. You know what I mean? The sun will do that to you. And I know I'm getting theatrical with my demonstration here, but you got to watch out for things like that. So you got to be very aware of those little details as well. But really, just the key is be nurturing, be kind to yourself, treat those around you with the heart and the mind of a little child. And to me, it's a very good era. I guess I'll stop ranting there. It's a good time amazing for most anybody. So,
let me see here. Crystal was next. I gotta find her.
Yeah, totally. It's all good. Let us know if there's any other questions in the chat. Although I saw a number of good questions go by and I was not able to address them. So if you had a really important question, you guys throw it in the chat and put question in all caps so I can find it. What's up, Surface Planet Radio? I see you over there. How's it going? I did a really genuinely fun episode on Surface Planet Radio. I wish I could post your link in the chat because I would like more people to listen to his channel, because that was actually a very fun discussion that we had, and it was cool. Check out Surface Planet Radio, you guys.
Yeah, we got to meet him at the conference. His name's Eric, right? Is it Eric?
He was cool. Yeah, totally. Spiritual Ascension says Matthew is at Kevlar. I don't think it's Kevlar. It's level. It is level 4 ballistic plates though. So we're ready to stop a 308 round. I don't know if it'll stop a 30-06. I didn't check into that, so who knows. But yeah, no, we call it the armor of God around here. Anyway, go ahead. Who do we have?
I'm looking for Crystal. I can't find her in the chat. Did she pop up at the bottom? Can you see?
Oh,
here she is. I got her.
But we can just roll.
Here, we got her.
Yeah. While you're getting that on the screen, I'm going to take this question from Woo Rider. He says, question, how often should one getting a tarot reading? If someone gets multiple readings weekly, do the readings counteract one or another in any way? That's such a smart question, dude. And I think you've seen on one hand the answer, right? Is that they do counteract. And depending on the person that you talk to or the person that you see or the questions that you ask, on whose show you watch, you're going to get such different answers, and everyone's an expert and everyone knows, you know what I mean? So that is a dynamic that occurs for people who do get a lot of readings. And I want to be real, there isn't really anything wrong with that. I think it's just kind of the process of self-examination, experimentation, and asking questions and getting to know the self. Do I think, is there a need for people to get a certain amount of tarot readings? Not that that was your specific question, but my recommendation would be this. Learn to read tarot yourself. Learn as best as you can basic meanings of the cards. It's really awesome and fun, and it can be incredibly, well, I'll use a boring word, enriching to one's life to get a shitload of readings from other people. But what you'll find is that a lot of them are really spotty and all over the place. I think that's one of the reasons why I've tended to be very conservative and try to stay within a certain range with these. Like, you guys will notice I'm not like, oh, and you've got Archangel Michael and 7 spirits from the 12th dimension that are alongside you, and your avatar from whatever Nachtwaffen is here as well. You know what I mean? I'm not diving into the bizarreness of that. And I think it's wise to be mindful of people that immediately go into that realm, because I'm going to be real with you, that's often a sign of a person that hasn't got to know themselves on such a level that they can speak to, pure energy. It's usually people that'll be describing things filtered through other people's experiences. So I would say just use your discernment. Get as many readings as you feel comfortable getting. Ask as many questions as you want. But just notice what your body tells you. As a person that does this work every day, your body will tell you what's actually true. What's crazy is I've had people argue with me about that. They're like, no, it won't. No, your body can't. I'm like, dude, it will tell you what is true. And what's wild is for people that are even watching this show here tonight, you will hear certain things that I will say. And I promise you guys, you'll be like, that's bullshit. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. You know what I mean? And you will know in your heart of hearts that it's not. And likewise, on the other side of it, you'll hear things and you're like, your body will show you that it's true. And so anyway, I'll stop ranting there, but I think every person has the ability to discern that. And I actually think it's cool when people get a lot of readings, but I just don't take them that seriously. You know what I mean? It's like watching a bunch of TV shows. How many of those do you take seriously? You know what I mean? Sometimes they mirror real life, so that it becomes something different, right? But anyway, I'm ranting too much. Let's do
No, you're good.
This is for Holland Sass. What's up? How's it going? Let's pull a card for you for 2026. as I'm doing, as I'm pulling a card for Crystal, I'm like, did we do a reading for yesterday? So this is a perfect example of that. But yeah, Joyful Jennifer got it. Everybody has their own style. Everyone has their own style. But I firmly believe that when you encounter a reader whose first outlet, whose first like ex explanation or divination or whatever it is that they give you dives immediately into the sort of new age word salad. It's like the better you can get at recognizing that nowhere going new age word salad that so many readers throw around, the better you're going to be at like developing your own intuitive abilities. Because I would say that's one of the big issues that I have with people, where I'm like, dude, what you just said right now actually doesn't mean anything at all. But if you say it in the right way, people will be like, oh my, whoa. And it's like we're in that weird, love it or hate it, we're in that social group. So anyway, here we go for Crystal. And what does she need to know? 3, 2, 1. Take it with a grain of salt. Oh, wow. Hello, Crystal. You've got a 3 of swords, which, you know, whenever this shows up in a person's reading, oftentimes I'll pull another card after, which I will. I'll make it quick. But this is a really good one for those of you guys learning tarot. The 3 of swords is very self-explanatory. When you see it, you'll be like, it couldn't be that simple. It is. It's matters of the heart. It's the wounds of the heart. It's the emotional body. If you want to get more specific and anatomical, it's the lungs, where we hold mourning and sadness and disappointment. It's the heart, where we sometimes need to give forgiveness for the self and for others. And it's also the things that were said. It's events that happen, sometimes as children, sometimes yesterday. And it's like something was said, things went down, it pierced the heart. And you can either allow yourself to remain wounded and allow those shards to kind of pierce and affect your well-being, or you can pull them out, you can sharpen them, and you can use them as tools and give them a new purpose. And so at its heart, the 3 of swords is about emotional pain, and at times just a suggestion to work with emotions above all else. But every now and then people get it and they're like, but Matthew, I'm not in emotional pain and I'm having a really good time. And that's okay, because it might not be about the immediacy of right now. What it brings you back to is a reminder of, the heart and the wounds that we carry throughout life. And so anyway, I'm going to real quickly do one other one, because I always like to add another when we have weird messages. What's her 3 of swords about? Well, you got a 10 of cups in this one, Crystal, and we could say the 3 of swords is about endings and chapters closing, some things that didn't happen, others that did, the host of experiences that you've had over a period of time, and watching certain things come to a close, and then asking yourself, where do I go next? What will I carry with me from this old experience into the next stage? That's a good suggestion for right now. When you're like, where do I go next? You need to be deciding, what am I taking with me into the next stage of my journey? If you've been kind of feeling like you're on the verge of entering a new stage, this is for everyone right now. If you're feeling like you're on the verge of entering a new stage right now, it's because you literally are. It's really happening for a lot of people. And a 10 of cups is a time in which you're having a benevolent ending of one stage and a very, very thoughtful beginning of another. But I say thoughtful because you got to be mindful of what you're carrying. You got 10 cups right here. You're going to need to know what's inside each of them. I mean, sincerely, it's like, what am I taking with me through this portal into my new timeline? Because if you don't watch out, you'll carry the same junk that you just tried to leave behind. So you got to dump out a lot of things as well. But I'm speaking very metaphorically. I'll stop there. But anyway,
That
thanks.
was amazing, man. That was really amazing. That was good. Like, yeah. I was trying to. Yeah, I was. I was here. The next person. I lost my place in chat. Oh man.
It's all good. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you, Woo Ryder. That was a really good question. I might have gone in a weird direction with it, but
we got one from Michelle, and then we got one from Diane. Diane wants to know what's going on with her son. I'll make sure we get her next. But Michelle, I don't know if Michelle has a question or what. Michelle, do you have a question?
We can just pull a card for you. Yeah, it's all good. Oh yeah, she's in San Diego again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, what part of San Diego are you in now? I thought
I can't.
was like Fallbrook or probably Santee. I'll bet you it's Santee. You're in El Cajon, aren't you? Right? San Diego people will be like, "What? No, I'm not." Anyway.
I
Oh,
wish I wish
Fallbrook. Okay, Fallbrook. All right, cool. I wish I was in Encinitas. If I could probably go back and live in San Diego County, I would go to Encinitas, or I would go to North Park, South Park, that area. Anyway,
is it pretty beautiful there, California? Like it seems like it's
I think it is. I would say honestly, it is a really nice place if you can afford to live there. But I think mainly because I was born and raised there and lived there for literally 38 years. So
yeah.
I like lived there long enough to hate it and then to move to a bunch of other parts of the country and realize like, oh shit, it's way better than everywhere else. So you know what I mean? It is actually a really good place to live because like literally every day is the same, which some people sounds horrible, right? But it has the best weather of anywhere in the entire United States of America. Absolutely. Like absolutely best weather of anywhere. Oh, she
Yeah.
lived on Encinitas Boulevard. Yeah, dude. Encinitas is chill. It's a good place to
What's the
be.
most you ever have to wear there? A hoodie, I'm guessing, right? That's it. I guess you never
Yeah,
have to wear a winter
probably
coat.
probably like a hoodie. I mean, I don't know. Like I haven't lived in San Diego in like 5 or 6 years now, but after living there for a few decades, it's like I don't know. It'll rain like what 3 times a year, maybe for like one day. You know what I mean? It's like
Wow.
basically you're gonna wear a hoodie and like a basic jacket. You know what I mean? I have no snow experience because I grew up there, so I don't
See,
know what
that's me.
weather.
I have all that. I have all snow. I lived at like the northern East Coast, and even when I lived in North Carolina, it snowed. And
You've got a huge advantage. I would die in the snow. For real though, you guys, I have such low snow experience. I would just be like, yeah. You would like find me like wandering somewhere on the side of the road, like oh, like shivering, and be like, dude, what are you doing, man? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Okay, this is for Earth Grid Rescue Mission. Here we go. Anything that needs to be seen or acknowledged, witnessed or received. For Michelle. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Hello. You've received the 6 of Cups. I don't know if you were around earlier. I think one of our first cards was a 6 of Pentacles tonight. And now we have a 6 of Cups. And as I was saying earlier today, every 6 in the world of tarot is pretty benevolent. They're usually pretty good moments. They're not explosively awesome, but each 6 that you receive will give you a clue in terms of what it is that you can focus on or make use of, or a thing that you need to be aware of. And 6 of Cups is a really fun one. I'll just cut right to the chase. This is the time of year, this is the week, this is the day, this is the period or the era to reconnect with your inner child. I mean, very, very dedicatedly connect with the inner child, but I got to be very specific. Not from the wounded, broken child perspective. I know a lot of us had weird childhoods, and it's easy to go back into the childhood wounds. Sure, that could be a part of it, but 6 of Cups is a little bit different. 6 of Cups wants you to play like a child, to imagine like a child, to exchange joy with other people like a child, to be silly, to just run around and sort of laugh and do things for no reason. And you know what I mean? Kind of like in this picture right here, just one kid giving flowers to another. It's an offer that Spirit gives us to reconnect with the younger piece of ourselves so that we can re-experience joy, so that we can redefine joy, so that we can experience emotional healing in some form, which is a theme anytime you see cups. In the world of tarot, you guys, for those that are looking for a way to, figure out like what is this talking about? How do I relate this to real world things? Because you guys are going to see a lot of readers watching, many shows, and they don't always tie it back to what does it mean in the real world? What does this reading or what does this card mean for me as a person? Because I could say, well, it's actually Archangel Michael and Archangel Uriel, and they're trying to give you, you know what I mean? Like we could go in that direction if you want, or we could say like, what does it mean for us as humans? For us as humans living in human bodies, Six of Cups asks you to reconnect with your inner child so that you can re-experience joy, get in touch with your emotions again, and allow for growth to take place in relationships and harmony. Ultimately, it brings harmony by reconnecting with just silliness and younger days. And anyway, I'll rant on and on. So
That was amazing.
it's a good time, you know what I mean? To me it's good. Like, you can do things like watch cartoons that you saw when you were a little kid where you're like, oh my god, I used to love that show, you know what I mean? Or you can eat food or candy that you used to eat as a little kid where you're like, man, I used to want to eat that all the time, but my parents wouldn't let me have it. You know, you can do stuff like that. Other people will go out and even get toys that they had like when they were kids, you know what I mean? Like, there's a huge resurgence of adult Lego people now. That's a really big one. If I had money, I might be an adult Lego person because I see them and I'm like,
That's
dude,
cool.
what? Damn. You know, or maybe not, but
They do those immaculate Lego setups though, you know, that they're like pretty, like, you wonder how they do that shit, you know? It's like,
I think it's just a lot of time and money. But
yeah.
anyway, go ahead. Did we have other people? I'll just keep
Yeah.
ranting, and I know we've been here for a while.
Sounds like this lady's concerned. She asked this question. Thanks for being a member, Diane. She said, question, what is going on with my son?
Okay. I will start out by saying, which might sound kind of disappointing, but I want to be authentic for you. I don't know that that's necessarily a question that feels really appropriate to dive into without more information from you and just a little bit more energy about what's going on. So I want you to take the card that I pull for you for like extreme grain of salt. Okay, I can tell you from an empathic perspective, it does feel there's a series of unhealed traumas that are making themselves known through some type of like very difficult behavior, possibly leading to something like physical illness or other stuff. I mean, that I'm just throwing a dart on a dartboard in the dark based upon the overall vibe that you're putting forward. Feels like unhealed trauma. So maybe you can look back at what you know of him. But honestly, for that would be one where I would say we need to talk more and we can look at that deeper. But what we will do is pull a card for you regardless. Usually when you and I are doing this in a reading, I'll say, I need to know their first name, and we would talk a little bit more. And which I honestly think is a very wise choice for people that do professional intuitive work. Some people say like, no, don't tell me anything. Here we go, which you can do. But I think in the interest of healing and relaying relatable information that people can grab onto and actually compare to things in their real life, more information is actually better. And so,
Yeah.
I will say this though before I pull the card, because I know that's such a heavy thing to talk about on a live stream. I think the very fact that you're here asking that question, one of the messages that you need to know is that there is an outlet and that there is a possibility for healing and that there is hope for him. And so, because I know I'm speaking in such wild generalities, right? It's like such a big generalistic, like what, you know? So I choose to believe that there's hope. But let's just pull a card. Let's just see what comes up. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm gonna shuffle again. Here we go. For those of you guiding Diane and her son at this stage of the journey, we're just asking for anything that can be relayed in truth and healing. Here we go. Boom. Hello. You've received a hanged man. Well, some people would see this and they would go, no, what are you talking about? A hanged man? Isn't that a bad thing? Isn't that horrible? No, I mean, you know, that sounds so gruesome, right? It sounds horrid. Hanged man, my God. So let's be very specific. While this is not going to tell you what's going on with your son, what it's going to tell you is that some of the information, some of the ideas, even some of your beliefs around what is possible within the situation of whatever's happening in your family, in your life right now, you're capable of far more, and there's a lot more that can be done. But you will need to learn to look at things from a very different perspective, because that's ultimately the lesson of the hangman. The hangman says, you do have the wrong idea about certain things. Nobody likes to hear that. I'm just going to be real with you. That's one of the messages of the hangman. Says, well, you do have the wrong idea about things, but it's not what you think. It's not what you think. In fact, actually, things are reversed and you're far more capable, and there's a lot more that you could do. And maybe even in the situation of what's going on with your son, there are certain things that are reversed, and you'll think it's one way, but it's actually the other way. It's actually the reverse of what you thought it was. I know that could open the door to a million other possibilities, but what the important thing you need to know is, because I don't want to theorize too deeply, I feel like that's insensitive and inappropriate ultimately, but what you do need to know about the hangman is that you, Diane, are far more powerful than you have been led to believe. We could even say your son, in whatever condition or whatever is going on in his life, are far more powerful than you've been led to believe. And if you're willing to start looking at things from a very different perspective, and I mean this very, very sincerely, if you're willing to look at things from a very different perspective, there is a lot more that can be done. And so anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I see your comments in the chat, and I'll just reiterate that I don't feel that this is an appropriate question to bring into a one-card reading live stream. So I pray that there's some usable data in there for you. And yeah, we'll stop there.
Okay. Yeah.
Feel free if there's anybody else.
Looking here. I think they
doing nerds clusters. Well, okay, missing time. Can you please explain nerds clusters?
Those are amazing.
I don't know nerds. Wait, is that like real candy, or is that like a? Yeah, can you please explain words? I don't know why I'm like, damn, that kind of sounds good. Anyway, Service Planet Radio says reading for 2026. I was asking for people's predictions. We were going to pull cards on people's predictions, but then we got pulled into all kinds of random socio-political commentary, like real surface level commentary, just like randomness. You know what I mean? Aurora Diamond Heart said it's real candy. I don't know why. For some reason, it's like I'm not even a candy person, but like when I read Nerds Clusters, I was like, wait, what? Huh? Like for some reason that part of me. But then I did have a long era as a kid. I was totally addicted to giant chewy sweet tarts. I had like a really long giant chewy sweet tart run. It was not good. Oh, dude. That was honestly before the blue ones. For those of you guys that are real Gen X, you will remember when Blue Raz actually came out. That was not a flavor. That flavor did not exist previously. Maybe that's a Mandela effect. There was no such thing as Blue Raspberry at that time. But
that came out in our generation, you mean?
Yeah, totally. At least as far as I know. Watch, I'm totally wrong. Somebody's going to fact check that. And they're like, well, actually, that one meme where it's all actually, like the Reddit dude. Actually, fact check. You know what I mean? Anyway. Okay. Andromedan says, I have a question. What my true self is. Oh, wow. Okay. What my true self is doing now, or where is it now? Wow, that's a good. You guys are bringing in some good obscure questions. I would start by saying, no, I should not say that. I was about to name drop somebody. I shouldn't do it here. What is my true self doing right now? Where is it right now? I can tell you one thing. I believe that if you want to refer to the true self as what we would call the higher self, or the eternal element, the eternal aspect of you, I believe that element of us stands in observance over much of what we do in this life. meaning that it's sort of the guiding light or that spiritual factor that kind of stands alongside us from that higher dimensional perspective, and hopefully is nudging and guiding and really just observing us. So I would like to say, where is that true version of yourself right now? I think it's here within this now moment, along with everybody in the chat, just kind of sharing this point in time that we've all agreed to kind of connect in. What is your true self doing? I would believe, from an empathic perspective, that they're observing and just watching you and noticing, the ways in which you interact with human life, and kind of hopefully inspiring and kind of seeding you with knowledge and new direction. I would say, for those of you that want to get into greater touch with what we would call the voice of spirit, or maybe what some people call even the voice of our spirit guides or the higher self, I would say look to that still small voice, look to the internal dialogue inside your mind. And I don't mean every piece of internal dialogue, because there are many divergent thought forms that we engage in. But there's a true version of you that I think is accessible to each and every one of us, just by going, I know this sounds so trite, but it is really like within you on a certain level. And for a lot of people right now, just what I've been noticing, it's showing up within your internal dialogue, within a running conversation that you have with yourself in your mind, more so than something like 1111 or 333, or what I mean, or the other synchronistic symbols. Those are all great as well, but be mindful of your internal dialogue. And so anyway, I'll shut up now.
Thank you. It's amazing.
I want to nominate Andromeda to be the bouncer for Rob's show. When it really gets going, and you get a switchboard and a call screener. Okay, yeah, we need a volunteer for a call screener. Who will be the call screener? I'm thinking Selena could be a call screener. Just because I know you won't take any bullshit. Selena would be a call screener. Andromeda will be a bouncer. Jason will be a producer, maybe, because in the year 3030, everybody wants to be a producer. But I'll stop there.
We could make like our version, our community's version of the Jerry Springer show.
Yeah, we could. That'd be great. I still really want to do like a trivia show. I just haven't had the time or energy, willingness to, do that.
Wouldn't it be funny if we had like a studio and we could bring people together like Elena Danan and Ishmael Perez and have them duke it out at the and have people would be screaming Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. I don't know. They wouldn't be Jerry. They'd be screaming something else. But I mean,
they would be screaming Rob. But that would sound kind of weird, right? Rob. So we gotta get you like a stage name, like a show host name.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
What would your show host name be?
But here, I don't know. But I was thinking, are there enough beefs in our community to make a show out of it? Do you think there's enough?
Well, we have to create some. Didn't like Jerry Springer sort of pay people to sort of have beef, or was that Maury? I think it was Maury was paying people to have beef with each other, where it's like everybody would make like $200 in a free plane ride.
Dude, do you remember the paternity test? Oh my God, the paternity test first. They'd be like, James, you are not the father, and everybody would explode.
Dude, that would be awesome. Now, I mean, honestly, I wish we could do that. Andromeda's like, hell no, I'm not going to be a bouncer. He might be. I don't know. Anyway, were we gonna pull another card for somebody? I know there was a couple of other people. I know we're at the 2-hour mark. I don't want to I mean, not to draw it out too much longer. But are we waiting on any other readings?
Oh, there was one other girl. She's kind of new to the chat. Her name's Christina. And I figured, wait, where's she at? She's here she is. She's I think she might have been here before. I don't know. She says, her question for you is, she says, Matt, where am I heading? And this is her avatar here. I'm just kind of trying to pull it up. It's not.
Oh wait, I see you in the chat. Okay, cool.
There it is. Okay.
Once again, take everything with a grain of salt. Your body will tell you it's true. I do a lot of joking and kind of all kinds of sarcastic, weird shit on these shows. People that book with me in private know that the experience is much, much different and far more expansive. And
You
anyway,
get
I
pretty
like
deep
to,
here, though. You
I
really
like to
do.
preface that at a time. I know, but I think I always use your show as a chance to come in and be like really smarmy and sarcastic. And I really enjoy doing that because it's a big aspect of my personality. But the reality is, and I mean this with a whole heart, this work is literally the only thing that I do in this world. Intuitive readings, energy work, and the education around how to develop that for yourself. It's like maybe it's a blessing, maybe it's a curse. That's literally the only thing that I do. And so it's like I always choose to come back and like give it that moment of respect because it's a great blessing. I mean, it's a tremendous blessing for me. It's also a very uncertain and wild and shaky thing to do in this life. But I mean, it's the only thing that I have to do. You know what I mean? And so I'm very, very blessed to get to do this from a full time, perspective. And I might be kind of a sarcastic asshole about a lot of stuff, but I think that when, everything is said and done and this life is over, if there's one thing I know is that I will stand as an example of a person who did this authentically,
Yeah.
and didn't play games and didn't do the yes you are here in every program all the time. You know what I mean? It's like we kept it real. And as a result, love it or hate it, we got kept kind of small. You know what I mean? We got like shoved down in the dark underbelly. But anyway, for Christina, let's keep it real. We'll pull a card. What did she say? Where am I heading? Where are we heading for 20? I think it was where are we heading, right? For 2026?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not stalling here. I'm just an advocate of heavy shuffling. That's another thing, you guys. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she said, "Where is she headed?" Or what? Yeah.
Okay, let's pause for a moment for Christina. Here we go. We'll see it together. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Whoa. Hello. You got a Page of Cups. Man, this is a good character to have. It's also a very severe character. It comes with a congratulations on one level, Christina, because you say, where am I going? And well, Page of Cups, I'm going to be real with you. Page of Cups is not a person who's going to tell you where you're going. Page of Cups is going to tell you how you're feeling and what's going on within the heart and what kind of energies you've gathered and like what you're holding on to. And ultimately she reminds you to renew yourself, to engage in ritual cleansing, to realize that you are in most cases in your life the biggest empath in the room, and you've been that your entire life. The Page of Cups is that character. Just so you know, in the world of tarot, she's the number one biggest empath. For those that don't know, every feeling, every emotion, Page of Cups has been picking it up her whole life, and as such it can become very overwhelming. It can be very difficult at times. She can drown within her own emotions or even emotions of other people. And so when we say, where am I heading? And a Page of Cups comes in, well, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, how do I feel? And do I really know how I feel about where I'm headed or who I am right now? Let's say if you ask yourself that question and you're like, well, I don't actually know. Well, then the Page of Cups will say, maybe where you're headed is to cleanse the self. You're headed to the element of water, to renew, to wash away sorrows, to ritually cleanse the body, to be mindful of what you absorb from the world. Because the thing is, the truth about a lot of people and places and things. This is real. Page of Cups knows. They just hear it. They just watch someone come in the room. And like how I was saying earlier, you look at an expression on people's face and you're like, you just know a certain thing. That's Page of Cups. The problem is they don't always know what to do with it, which can be hard and it can be very overwhelming. So you really have to come to terms with what you can handle and what you can't handle. And I'm not saying that from a perspective of you being a weak being, because that's not really what it's about. It's that the Page of Cups has to realize that they have a very small cup. And that's actually a good thing. It's very, 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 very good thing. But it also means that they can only handle so much bullshit from the world. And so you're going to see the truth of many things. And when you get overwhelmed, that's where you have to start calling it out and you have to start seeing it. Otherwise, it becomes overwhelming to the Page of Cups. They can become overwhelmed within their own emotions, within what they gather and absorb from other people. So, honestly, probably if you started taking, like, which sounds weird to some people, but it's very healthy, ritual bathing, where you can get Epsom salt or herbs or even crystals if you have the right ones, and you can, really ritually cleanse the body. That is old world magic that Page of Cups can engage in that will keep them whole when other people are losing it. And so, anyway, Page of Cups, there you go. Boom. I hope it helps.
Wow. I think we didn't have someone who wanted a reading, but one other person had a question. He just wanted to ask, what was it? He wanted to ask how he could stay healthy. Let me see what he says. Like, what? It was I'm looking on my phone. Oh, he said it was Pro LN70Z. He says, how do I get healthy?
I would say first off, what do you think's going on? Is there a specific health question? I mean, on one hand, YouTube is a dodgy environment to do medical psychic readings, but I'm going to be really honest for those of you guys out there that will see this in the future. That is a huge part of what I do. In fact, it's not a thing that I get to talk about enough on people's shows because it's a sensitive topic for people, but I didn't choose it, you know what I mean? It sort of chose me in this really, really bizarre way, and, but maybe we'll talk more about that in the future, but I think when I look toward, where I'm evolving into, it feels very much toward, medical psychic work because it's weird. I can hear I mean, I think anyone can. You can hear people's organs. It's a weird thing where I'm like, "How do we then translate that outward?" But anyway,
That's
um
amazing.
did he have a question on
Do you have
or any more
a question,
info
Pro
on
Wayne Zo 70Z?
I can say one thing and just feeling into you in the moment, which we can definitely do, and, once again, take it with a grain of salt, but you'll hear me say this 10 seconds after it's said, but just take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. You can just release it as you please. Drain it out of the body. Well, there's a lot of targets present. Okay. There's a lot of targets present. We're in what I would call a target rich environment. I can tell you from the energy signature that presents right now, if you're looking for maybe an immediate outlet to look at, I would look at the health of the colon, the health of the large intestine. I would possibly, I mean, honestly, everyone should be doing parasite cleansing right now, which I probably can't say that word too many times on YouTube. I don't know what's allowed and what's not anymore, but
Yeah.
that will greatly aid you. But I would just say in the very limited vibration that comes through without more information, I would say areas of prioritization would be large intestine and colon. And just enhancing motility, enhancing movement, clearing up pH balance. And that might be too much of a surface level answer for some people, but that's one system that I think is very it's easy to gauge in a situation like this, where you're on social media and there's like a bunch of people. I mean, I don't even know how many people are watching, sometimes 5, sometimes 20, but you know what I mean? There is a dynamic that occurs when I'm doing these where it's like there's a lot of people present and you can lose focus. That's why I say take it with a grain of salt. But I would aim toward large intestine and colon. If you want to get more specific, just because I can tell that you're hearing this part now, I would prioritize lymphatic health and just more movement, like behind your knees and like the corners of the groin and under your arms. It just feels like there's some stagnancy, but I'm gonna pause on that one because it's a very it's like It's a very dicey thing to do in a like a reading live stream, you know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah, I should say we're not giving medical advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is just for YouTube
Definitely
purposes, guys. But like,
entertaining.
I'm allowed to say that I totally believe in everything Matt does. I'm also allowed to say that. Like, so even though I have
Definitely
to say,
entertainment.
certain things for YouTube, like it doesn't mean I don't believe Matt. I believe him 110%. And I think he's one of the best at what he does. Honestly,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I genuinely hope that helps. I think that's good advice for everybody. But you guys will hear the lymphatic system in people's voice and within their energy field. Like, let's say if you don't even hear their voice, you can oftentimes feel the lymphatic system like some form of a heaviness or like a weight that you'll often perceive like in your own body when like behind your knees, which is why I'm talking about that. I've just learned that when I feel other people energetically, like I can feel the lymphatic system behind the knees and in the groin and under the arms. And coincidentally, that's where big bunches of lymph nodes hang out in the body. So it's like I learned later on that I was actually sensing it, but you'll feel as you're connecting with that person, or rather, I'll feel as I'm connecting with that person, a kind of puffiness or a heaviness in certain areas of the body. And so, anyway, we can talk more about that in the future if you like. I know it's been a long one this evening, but
This was great though, man. This was really good. Yeah, this was this
maybe
was
that's an
amazing.
idea for a future show. We can talk more about how different systems in the body can be sensed. I don't know if that would be useful to people, but it's definitely
Yeah,
something we can talk about. Anyway,
yeah.
oh,
We could
Andromeda
do a
never.
whole show on it, right?
Sorry, Andromeda. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, Rob. You were saying?
I said we could do a whole show on it. We could.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Even Beth is like, pull a card for Andromeda. Okay, we will. We will. It's okay. Sorry. No, it's okay. It's okay, man. Like, dude, you're part of the crew. You've been here every night. I get it. It's okay. He's here all the time. We're gonna do a card for Andromeda, and then before we go, we're gonna pull one for everybody, just for all the people specifically in this chat. So it's not a collective. It's not like one of those like everybody on Earth. It's like you guys here in this now moment. But first, for Andromeda, because he didn't get a card earlier. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, whoa, hello. All right. We got a Queen of Pentacles. Oh, Andromeda, this is such a can of worms. Oh, Lord. Okay, so this is a time in your life to really ask yourself, what am I creating? What am I nurturing? What is it that I'm growing? What kind of projects am I working on? Is there something that I'm cultivating in my life? The Queen of Pentacles, as a person, as a stage, she has to have something she's birthing or creating or manifesting or building. She advises you to connect with nature if at all possible, depending on if that's available where you live. And she's also, in many cases, has a lot of mother energy. So she does bring up your relationship with your mother, your relationship with femininity, not necessarily from a romantic perspective, but more from the long term, like established patterns of how that shows up in your life. She's also the element of earth. So she has a lot to do with like, just processes within the physical body, which, well, let's be real, that's also wands. But when the Queen of Pentacles is out, she's asking you to look at your routines and look at areas where things have become stagnated in your life, to redefine your relationship with creativity, to ask yourself what you're manifesting. And if it's from a healing perspective, you might be healing relationships with powerful femininity or creator energy in some form. And so honestly, she's a good character to get. Just don't allow yourself to become too reliant upon routines, and I will leave it there.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that could be said about Queen of Pentacles. Somebody in the chat knows. You're like, there's a lot more that could be said, but that's a conversation for another time. Anyway.
I knew this dude was this Pro Lane 7 ounces had something to do with boxing. I was thinking maybe he was a boxer in his earlier life, or he's a boxer now because he is named Pro. I mean, 7 ounce. That's 7 ounces.
Oh,
That
right.
loves
Yeah. 7
and
ounce.
then
Oh, yeah. I noticed in the chat they said Jake Paul got. I know. He got his jaw broken.
he got his jaw broken.
Yeah. They cracked his
Holy
jaw.
shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah. For real.
I know he got his ass beat, but I didn't know he got his jaw broken. Holy shit, man! Did you see after the fight, Logan Paul tried stealing Anthony Joshua's chain?
Yes, I did see that. I would have.
Dude, I was like, "What the fuck is that shit, man?"
That was the perfect angle for, like the little elbow slice right there, which would be warranted in a situation like that when someone's taking something off your neck. It's like a real quick boom, you just spin around, but that would be too crazy on that. But I was like, what, damn. And then also I will be real, I know everyone hates Andrew Tate. Missing Time mentioned it. I know Andrew Tate's so unpopular. I'm often a fan of very unpopular people. Not that I agree with his outlook on everything, but you can pretty much guarantee if there's like, I might favor the villain in a lot of scenarios, but but I like Andrew Tate, and I was bummed to see him lose to that dude that was like flailing all over the place in this really, like, it was such a weird fight. I mean, there's no way it could be fake because it was so weird. It was, and I only watched little, moments of it, but I was just like, what? It was really, really, it was weird. Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it because it was like, I don't know, I was doing a podcast, but like someone was showing me pictures of the fight and stuff. It was I heard also Tyron Woodley got knocked out by Anderson Silva in the undercard.
Oh, yes, I also saw the cut like the clips from that. I've never really followed Anderson Silva, but I'll tell you what, I like the idea that he's still fighting at that age and he can still
and knocking people out,
people out. It's like, you really can, dude. You really can. You held it together. You held it together over the years.
I think he's 44 or 45 years old. He's the same age as us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no way. He's like, there's no way I'm going to be boxing with anybody at this stage.
Dude, I trained a lot in my life, and there's no way I would either. I mean, unless I got into a street fight. But I mean, I'm not getting into any kind of sanctioned fight or anything like that. Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, the fact that he can still do that is. Did you happen to see what happened with Tony Ferguson? Tony Ferguson was supposed to fight someone.
I noticed that he won something, but I've never really followed him, so I don't really like. I was like, oh yeah, okay, oh that guy won. I don't know who he is, man.
His story's insane. He used to have a really long winning streak in the UFC. He had like a 14-fight win streak. Then he went on a 7-fight losing streak, and then he ended up in that mystic boxing because like he couldn't fight in the UFC anymore. Really? Yeah, I don't know what happened with it. Yeah. Yeah, he was. It's sad what happened. It's like he was like a. Yeah.
I have heard his name. I just never really, what I mean? I'm so like halfway in and halfway out with a lot of stuff. I'll watch it for a while and I'm like, yeah, and then I like switch and get obsessed with totally random stuff. I'm in like a weird video game phase right now, so like all of my current RAM is now going toward this other thing. You know what I mean? I only have like 16 gigabytes of RAM. I'm working with you guys, so it's like.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking I'm gonna listen to the Law of One tonight when I go to sleep, because you got me thinking about that, how good it was and like how interesting it is. Like, and I think they have the audio on YouTube.
You know what? You can find Carla Ruckert's original recordings on YouTube. For those of you guys that look for L&L Research on YouTube, you can the actual original recordings from the Law of One sessions you can listen to. And it's crazy because me and Honora actually sat and listened to a couple of them a while back. And it's wild to think, depending on what you subscribe to, because some people think Law of One is drivel. But to me, it's the true voice of what we would call a sixth density consciousness. And what's wild is when you listen to the recordings, you guys, the way the Law of One was given, this is how they spoke. I am Ra. We are. That is literally how the recordings go. It's not some long flowing conversation. It's like every word is like it was like pieced together in this amazing way. I think later on they become a little bit more fluid,
Because it was
but
like 8 people channeling it, right?
oh
Wasn't it
no,
like 8?
it was three. It was Jim McCarty, I think, was the scribe. Don Elkins was the questioner, and Carla Ruckert was the in yeah, I can never say the word instrument, the actual channeler. And
Wow.
it was those original three people. They had channeled a bunch of other beings, I think before and after they had worked. And it's funny because people hear me talk so much shit about channelers, and there's a lot of fake channelers, and yet it's funny because like the one thing that I continue to return back to is literally a channeled work. So it's like, what? Come on, man. But yeah, it's true. I consider the law of one to be real. So
Yeah. I got to check it out more. Like I said, my ex-girlfriend she loved it. I mean, I remember I bought her a Law One
yeah.
T-shirt. She was so into it. You know what I mean?
Well, I want a law of one t-shirt.
They have them.
That'd be cool. Raw would probably be like, "What?" You know what I mean? Like, or maybe not. Maybe they would be into it. I think Quo would be into having a T-shirt. If anyone's ever read any of the Quo channelings, I think most of what LNL Research posts on their Facebook page is Quo. Like most of the time, it's the being known as Quo. But
How about some girl made James Rink T-shirts? Like she was in the chat last night, and then she sent me them. They actually look really cool.
I
But
hope
like
they're
my I don't
cool.
like, and she seems like a really nice girl, but like it's like how do you I don't want to market that because I don't want to make money off someone who passed away. But at the same time, like if she's gonna do it like where she just wants to like make for the cost or whatever, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to, but I told her I would help her because it says on the back, it says long live James Rink. It has a good message, and I
I
thought that
get
was
it.
cool,
I get it. I guess that's always kind of a touchy thing, when someone dies. It's like, where's the threshold between like, profiting off that and also trying to be, like respectful and, keep their name going and to honor, people that have passed. And I don't know. I'll be real. I don't think I really have an opinion on it. I mean, if it's something that took off, or like, let's say if like the day after he died, everyone had a bunch of t-shirts, that would be different. I mean, maybe it's just someone, to me, it would just be a person trying to, pay tribute in their own way.
yeah,
But then again, I'm also one of those people that cringes whenever I see people on t-shirts like that. You know what I mean? Like, sorry to be cynical, but that's like the equivalent of like, like the hood rat, like
yeah.
airbrush t-shirt, Day Day got killed, it's like, yeah, it's like, how many of those are we going to continue to see? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's this other part of me is like, why do we allow people to become that, like, in a certain way?
You said Day Day got killed.
You know what I mean? You know how it is? It's like, like, dude, they're posing on the,
Dude,
it's like,
I know
come on, we're
exactly.
always here, like they're throwing up blood,
Dude, they do it here
and
in
it's like,
Pittsburgh.
oh
They have them here in
man,
Pittsburgh. Yeah, they do it here. And I swear to God, in Pittsburgh, like if you go to some of the stores in downtown, like you'll go and like they actually have shirts for
yeah.
like people who died. And you're like, who the fuck is that? You know what I mean? I'm
Forever
like,
in our hearts, you know what I mean?
yeah, I'm like, it's
But then again,
insane.
it's like but then again, I don't want to make fun of people because I'm like, well, you know what I mean? I get it, dude. That's like your friend or your brother, and they died, and it's like, who am I to be like, that's dumb? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because honestly, like if I just died, I would be touched if somebody made a t-shirt. But
yeah, me too.
I think sometimes it becomes like this, you know what I mean? It takes on another form. I saw somebody in the chat mention Charlie Kirk, and I think that's a good example of when it takes on another form. Because I was noticing how, and I'm sure people that watch Twitter saw it. They're like, at like their last event, they put the tent up and the pictures, like they recreated his death scene. And I'll be real, I did kind of cringe at that. I'm like, why? Why are you what do you?
I love this comment from Christina. I'm putting it up real quick. If it comes
Yeah.
up, she says, "I will have pillows with my face on them at the funeral." I don't know why it's not coming up.
Oh,
I thought that was like really good.
yeah. That sounds cool. Actually, hell yeah, I would have pillows. Yeah, I would say yes. I would, yeah. That sounds cool. Beth in the chat says the body tattoo of fallen gang friends. Yeah, yeah, that one where it's sort of like a distorted drawing, you know what I mean? Where like, oh, that looks kind of like him, sort of, right? Yeah, it's like, but it's like sort of like a baby with like a mutated face, and you're like, yeah, yeah, that's him. Somebody knows exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, thanks for
They
hanging
say
out, you guys.
Charlie Kirk's wife sold merch at his memorial. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I saw that go by. That's why I was referencing that. I think, see, that to me, that's an example of when it takes a really shitty turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like
yeah.
instantly, like, I will be real. That's one of the signs that I think everybody can agree on now at this point. For those of us that follow that scene, when you see somebody die and within 12 hours they already have a documentary made, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? Whoa, like especially the Rob Reiner thing, and
Yeah,
somehow they had that whole show pulled, all together for Charlie Kirk, right? What, within like a couple days or something. But
yeah.
anyway, we can table that part there for now. Otherwise, I'll go on another inflammatory rant. I think we were gonna pull one final card, right? Well,
Did you do it for Andromeda? I think
we
you
did
did,
one
right?
for Andromeda. This will be a good cap on tonight's show because I know it's been a long one. We're going to do one last one. This was going to be only for the people in the chat. So if you have
Oh,
hung out here all night long, you have been with us for this strange journey through all kinds of wild cynicism and sarcasm, and also a lot of authenticity. At least you'll get that from me. But this is going to be for everyone that's still hanging out here with us after all this time here this evening. What does this group of people need to know for 2026? Maybe we can even just say for holiday 2025. We'll keep it really short term. Between now and the end of the year. How about that? Between now and the end of the year, can we have a focal point or a piece of symbolic information for the members that are gathered here right now? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. God, I hope it's good. What? Oh my God. Look at this, you guys. Holy shit. Check it out. It's a 3 of swords. We like literally right as I was like, oh, and then they give us this sign that says, watch your emotions. Watch your words, watch the wounds that we carry, that which we sling around, that which we hold from the past. So this, I would say, from between now and the end of the year, be very mindful of the emotions that you carry. And just because I always say we never leave on, a severe image like that. Where does it go? Boom. Well, after that, we go into a 4 of Wands, which we could say, once again, if you're able to watch your emotional well-being over the next couple weeks, it looks like we'll be starting 2026 in an era of new agreements, new practice, honing of new abilities. And for some people, look, new courtship periods. You're going to be meeting some new people in the coming year. Be very mindful of the dance that you do with them. And so...
Wow.
Anyway, I'll leave it there. This is a good omen for you guys in case you don't know, but we'll stop there. Thank you.
That was great, man. We went a long time. That was Crystal in the chat said, "Whoa!" Again, I would agree, man. This was amazing. This was a heavy, it was high level readings, honestly.
That's always a wild one when a 3 of swords comes in at the end. You're like, let's have a good message for the end. They're all, it's like that serious look. You're like, oh. Sorry. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. I was going to say, is it because we're like a serious group or something? Or do you think the group has a theme or something?
Maybe. Well, I would just say, like, the reason why is because 3 of swords is often one of those signs that will come in when, like, spirit is wanting people to take their emotional well-being more seriously. Like 3 of swords asks you to be mindful of the wounds that you carry into social situations, because if you're not careful, you know how it is. Like this is honestly, it's a perfect holiday card for people that do family gatherings, because you know how you'll get around people that you know, like especially your family, and you're like, oh man, remember that shit, remember that, oh, you know, and then that weird political conversation comes out and everyone's like, you know, pulling out their sword. Well, like, well, you know, and you know, you start slinging them alongside each other. That happens in a Three of Swords scenario. So I think it's just really asking us to be mindful of taking our emotions more seriously and being, you know, mindful of how we wield them against each other, you know. So I hope
Yeah,
that
I
makes
agree.
more sense.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was amazing, man. Did you wouldn't tell people everybody where they follow you and stuff like that? And thanks, dude.
Totally.
This was awesome. This was
Yeah.
really fun.
Thanks for hanging out for almost 3 hours, you guys. You can find me on YouTube at Remember Your Mission, which is also the website that we have where you can book a private reading or an energy clearing session. This is actually a very good time for people that are looking at getting forecasts, for people that are looking at understanding, you know, what do I need to focus on for the months ahead. This is a big time. A lot of people come around at the end of the year and the beginning of the new one. So you can find us at rememberyourmission.com, subscribe at YouTube/rememberyourmission. And then lastly, we do our Patreon group, which is every week, or excuse me, every month. It's pretty much the second Saturday and the last Sunday of the month. We do readings, and then we do energy clearing. And so you can find us at Blue Flame Collective on Patreon. But we'll be back here again in a few weeks.
Yeah, this was awesome, man. This was really good. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, you guys.